Good morning. It's Monday, the 1st of July 2024. So welcome first to the first half of the year and to the best breakfast show on the block. It's a brand new week and a lot happened over the weekend. I'm talking about the Joy News Impact Makers Awards, the Joy News EcoBank Habitat Fair. I will bring you details and updates and all that and many more. This morning, of course, we'll start with the AM news, and then for the news review, Afel Moni, the former president of Ghana Journalists Association, will be joining us for the news review. We'll also be joined by Kofi Akpalu, the founder of Liberal Party of Ghana. Both gentlemen will join us for the news review segment. And Muftan Abila Abdullah will bring you the latest chronicles from the world of sports. And then our big conversations begin. Today we have a conversation with the current chief editor of UN News, also the former deputy chief editor of the BBC in London. He has also served in various capacities, including the senior communications officer to the president of the 66th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Dotsei Malor is our guest this morning, and you don't want to miss that all-encapsulating conversation with Benjamin Akakpo. Also, a silent epidemic sweeping through Ghana, affecting millions of lives. I'm talking about non-communicable diseases, a growing threat to global health. In a Joy News' latest Hotline documentary, we will tell you the stories, the human stories, behind the staggering statistics produced by Emmanuel Jivenu. You want to stay with us for that. And then, of course, we'll take you back to the weekend where the second edition of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards ended, celebrating efforts of individuals who believe in touching lives. We'll engage Rhoda Kadewa Wedam, the overall winner of the Impact Makers Awards, on how she intends to leverage this opportunity. So, of course, you're invited to join us with your comments and your thoughts when we open the phone lines or across all social media platforms at Joy News on TV. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akakpo. Welcome to the AM show for this morning. Let's start with the AM news. It's a pleasure to have your company. Now, this morning, let's begin from Tamale. And 2 children have been found dead at the Kakpayili in the Tamale metropolis of the northern region. The residents suspect that the children were murdered for ritual purposes as their decomposed bodies were abandoned in a vehicle behind Mala Mada's house. According to the assemblyman for the Kakpayili electoral area, Hafiz Andani, the 2 children, both aged 3, went missing last Saturday. A search was conducted for the boys, but after 2 days of not finding them, an official complaint was made to the police. Police officer Haji Hafiz mentioned that some residents reported to the chief of the area that the 2 boys were last seen around Malamada's residence. Consequently, the chief invited the Malam to the Gumana Palace for questioning. Quote, some of the residents said they saw the children around his house before they went missing, so the chief invited him to the palace, unquote. Malamada denied any knowledge of the crime, and his wife also denied the allegations. We'll bring you more as the story unfolds in a subsequent bulletins. In other stories, a male adult was killed and more than 10 houses were torched in a renewed chieftaincy and land clash between 2 Kokumba factions in the Gbingbani in the northeast region. Confirming the violence to Joy News, the district chief executive, Conlan Bitian, said the fighting started around midnight on Friday after unidentified armed men launched a complex attack. According to the DCE, the men had deserted the community after the violence, leaving behind women and children. He added that although police had been deployed to the area, there's still more to be done.
I think the problem started since yesterday in the morning. We wake up early dawn and we were hit with a very sad news that that particular community, Bungbani, was on fire. So I quickly called security agencies in the district and deployed them to go and see what is actually happening. Then after their call, I called my regional minister and informed him, then called my MP, who is the same person as the parliamentary candidate for New Patriotic Party. So I informed all of them. So it was after some few time that the security officers, precisely the police commander, called me back and told me, yes, they have gotten to the grounds, and actually what I told them is true. Several houses have been burnt down, and then all the men have left the community, leaving only the women and the children. The only people they could access were women and children. So they were able to take good care of them for the whole of yesterday. So, and this morning I deployed them back to the community to go and see what is actually happening. And when they went, they called me back that the whole community is calm. But it is just after an hour ago that we had an intelligence. We had an intelligence that men are gathering in a nearby community in the Chalpuli district called Fiji, and that these men are gathering with an intention to come and attack Lungbani community. I think that is the pronouncement Honorable Minister has mentioned. But we have cautioned them and we have alerted security. I have also taken the opportunity to call my colleague in the Chalpuli district, and then I've informed her that this is the intelligence we have picked on the ground to take care of this community called Juju. Otherwise, men are gathered there with an intention to come and attack the community.
From the Northern Belt, let me take you now to the Western region, where some youth groups in Nkrofo in the Elembele district of the Western region have pledged to protect Adamu's resources to ensure the company continues its corporate social responsibility efforts in the area. They argue that the exceptional leadership of Ms. Angela List has been pivotal in transforming and propelling Adamus forward, emphasizing that the common interests of stakeholders must be paramount. The youth are rallying behind Angela List and Adamus Resources, highlighting the significant impact of the corporate social responsibility and leadership in the community. Our correspondent in Athalia has more in this report.
The demonstrators began their march at the Elembele District Assembly in Nkrofo, proceeding through Sechin Palace and River Brome Street before converging at the main gate of Adamus Resources. The demonstrators held placards with messages such as "Leave Angela List alone, Adamus successes largely due to Angela List's exceptional leadership." Speaking to journalist Francis Cole Mensah, the assembly member for Nkrofo emphasized the need for a peaceful atmosphere and harmony among stakeholders to sustain Adamus Resources Limited.
We want to tell the whole world to allow Madam Angela List to operate. Why am I saying this? Some few weeks ago, there was an interview, there was a demonstration here saying Adamus is not helping the youth. Madam Angela List is not helping the communities, the affected communities. It is. They are all lies. If she's given a very peaceful environment to operate, we are even going to receive more development than this. More development than this. At least we are all here, we are seeing what is going on here. When you go to all the mining companies, nobody has even employed 50% of the local people. Adamus has employed more than 60% of the local people. And I'm an assemblyman who is with the SRD department. I can testify.
Chairman of the Junior Staff Union, John Kwame Eluke, also spoke to journalists, expressing the staff's desire for conducive environments to promote productivity and growth for all stakeholders, including the Nsema communities.
But so far as a German and Wahana, yes, my four I'm found your the beer every year. I can't be a fast in terms of leadership, in terms of social responsibilities, we're native of Nsema. If you take Kubukazo, and we don't want any Bolivia. Well, a beer, not family, our community beer, you didn't know.
The He demonstrates his commitment to supporting Ms. Angela List and Adamu's resources, highlights the company's crucial role in the local economy and community development, their efforts underscore a broader desire for stability, growth, and shared prosperity in the region. For Joy News in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
In other stories, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment says the Ghanaian value systems introduced in the new senior high school curriculum for senior high schools, senior high technical schools, and STEM schools will help in addressing the value deficit in the country. The standard-based curriculum was started in 2019 for primary schools, junior high schools, and is now being rolled out in the country's senior high schools. Now, speaking at an engagement session with the public on the secondary education curriculum, Head of Languages at NACCA, Genevieve Mensah, says the new curriculum has a pathway which is flexible and gives students the opportunity to choose subjects of their choice and not programs. Abdullah Usman's report read to you.
The main issue the new curriculum seeks to address, according to NACA, is the Ghanaian value system. The National Council for Curriculum and Assessment is courting the support of all stakeholders to make the introduction of the new curriculum in the country's senior high schools, senior high technical schools, and STEM schools a success. Genevieve Mensah is the head of languages at NACA.
At the school level, we are concentrating on formative assessment, assessing our values, our core competencies, 21st century skills. And then at the end of the day, the summative one, which is done by WAEC, will focus more on the academic work. But even that, we are moving away from recall questions, low order questions, to critical thinking, creativity, analytical skills. And so assessment, yes, WAEC will still exist, but then the kind of question that WAEC is asking now is asking our students to think critically in the exam room to be able to answer the question. We are calling on everybody, the students, teachers, politicians, parents, opinion leaders, religious leaders, everybody to support this new curriculum to address the value issues so that Ghana will take its glory once again.
Genevieve Mensah touches on new additions into the curriculum.
What is new about this curriculum? We have pathway flexibility. Currently, students who are in the secondary schools enter with programs, for instance, science, visual arts, home and econs. And so after SHS, it's difficult for them to branch off to any other field. This time around, we said no. We have introduced a flexibility system such that we are no more selecting programs at the SHS. You select subjects. If you want to pursue science pathway, you choose your science subject. You have the opportunity to choose subjects from visual arts or business, so that when you finish and you are applying for a tertiary institution, if you are no longer interested in a visual arts program that you initially intended to do, you can branch off based on the combinations you did, branch off to do either science or home econs.
The Tufuhin of the Ogwa traditional area, Nana Kwame Edu the Sixth, shared his excitement about the introduction of the Ghanaian value systems in the new curriculum.
If the government or even the educational system take it upon themselves to systematically decide to train from basic schools the aspect of sports that the child or the youth is endowed with, by the time he reaches age 15, you see the prowess that they will bring to bear on us, and they will leave the queue, the unemployment queue, to practice sports. So for me, as a coach and as a person who thinks about the future of the youth, I believe that it's a very big area that we are neglecting. So I encourage that the people or those who are in charge should be able to put sports on a pedestal where it becomes attractive for the youth to embark on.
The National Council for Curriculum and Assessment wants the support of stakeholders for a successful implementation of the new curriculum. Abdallah Osman's report read to you.
Still on stories of education, I'll take you back to the northern region where about 1,700 students from 6 low-fee private schools in the Nanton district of the northern region are set to benefit from ICT training following the establishment of an ICT center by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, and its partners in the district. The IPMC Ghana is supporting by donating 21 laptops and accessories and audiovisual literacy instruction materials for the center. Now, the ICT Center, the first of its kind in the district, is expected to improve education in the area. The Deputy Mission at the U.S. Embassy, Rolf Olson, commissioned the facility at a short ceremony at Ghana.
The U.S. government, through the USAID since 2023, has supported Ghana to a total of about 140 million in education, health, agriculture, among other areas to help enhance citizens' prospects. The commissioning of the ICT Center was the latest effort by the U.S. government to strengthen Ghana's education. Delivering a speech at the event, the Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy, Rolf Olson, said the ICT Center and teaching and learning materials form parts of the USAID Advancing Partnership for Improved Activity, which supports more than 200 low-key private schools to provide quality education for children in northern Ghana.
We believe every child has the right to quality education regardless of the circumstances that they find themselves in at any given moment, and that includes even in the face of humanitarian emergencies. The activity involved in this contribution today from USAID is called Advancing Partnerships for Improved Learning, APIL, which supports more than 200 low-fee private schools to provide quality education for children in communities in northern Ghana. With government and the leadership of these schools to improve education quality, increase private sector investment, and ensure that teachers receive regular professional development, training, and mentorship opportunities.
The Deputy Minister of Education, Reverend Tim Fojo, said the ministry is poised to ensure the establishment of ICT centers in both rural and urban areas.
21st century, and Ghana is poised to have 21st century learning for our learners in every part of the country, not only in the urban areas, so even in hard to reach areas, in rural areas, in difficult to access areas, the marginalized. We are poised to ensure that we establish ICT labs, where we are poised to ensure that connectivity is extended, and we are even bringing the digital learning experience to classrooms, and now we're going beyond the public schools, even to low-fee private schools.
The Director of Education and Training, IPMC Ghana, Gwaro Shadam, said the laptop were AI co-pilot to help make it easier for the children to learn.
This AI application will help them to work on the difficult platform where they don't know, but the laptop itself will guide them. Like the next step is to click the start button, the next step is to save the file, so they can learn by themselves with the help of the laptop.
The Northern Regional Director of Education, Hajia Katumi Nantogoma, expressed excitement about the support of the learning materials to these schools.
We are delighted for the distribution of over 43,000 teaching and learning materials to 154 low-fee private schools across 13 districts in northern Ghana. These materials, which include teaching guide, supplementary readers, people's books, and workbooks, have been precisely developed and approved by the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA.
And now to some election stories. The National Peace Council has announced multiple interventions, including setting up what it refers to as a situation room to respond to election-related disputes. The council says the situation room will have members of the board of the council monitoring proceedings on the day of elections and provide interventions where necessary. Part of the broader interventions, according to its Executive Secretary, George Amon, will be to ensure that political parties and their presidential candidates commit to peace pacts ahead of the general elections. He was speaking at the launch of the National Peace Crusade Tour at Koforidua in the Eastern region.
All our board members will be present, and they will collect data for across the country. We have analysis room where analysis of the data will be done, and if the merit responses, a decision will take a decision, and it will take it from there. Rachel, after the elections, we also plan to conduct a post-election assessment. And we have already received the funding, and we are going to do that. Bring all the political actors together to see what we didn't do well, where we did good, and where we can improve going forward. And we do say, for every constituency where trouble, we don't expect one, but where trouble will come.
And that's it for the AM News, but there's still a lot more coming your way, starting with the news review segment. Stick with us. This is the news review segment on the AM show, and today we have a full house. But before I introduce my guests to you, 3 guests actually, a gentle reminder that this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free prostate screening and free fertility screening at their various branches in their various locations. Here in Accra, you can find them on the Springtex Road, opposite the Shell signboard, and in Kumasi, Kronumabuenya, behind the Angel Educational Complex, in Takrady Anaji Estate, in Tema Community 22, in Techiman Hansua, in Isiama, in Zima. You can call them on 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Time for me to introduce our guests, and then we'll get into the papers. Stack of them, actually. From my extreme left, we have the former president of GJA, Ghana Journalists Association, Afel Morning. In the middle, the lady in... Is that violet?
Purple.
Purple. Looks so good on you. We have Nanaya Achepem Jantua, the former General Secretary of the CPP and former Director of Public Relations at PURC. And right beside me is Kofi Akpalu, the founder of Liberal Party of Ghana and a presidential candidate.
Exactly.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, we have about an hour. Today, my producer has been so kind because we are a lot. He's extended the news review segment for us. So I'll give you each a minute and a half to get into any topical issue that's been on your mind. I'll start with you, Mr. Akpalu.
Oh, yeah. Good morning. In my mind, what is bothering me at the moment is how people are complaining bitterly in the marketplaces. Everywhere you go, people are complaining that things are very, very tough for them. So I'm looking at a point where we'll be able to survey the situation and get people something, especially the young people, get some jobs to do, because there are a lot of them out there who are unemployed. And looking at the situation, if we don't do anything about it, it will get us into something that we may not like. So that is something that is bothering my mind.
Okay, so looking forward to liberating our young people, right?
Yeah.
Nanaya, what's bothering you? What's bugging you this morning?
What's bugging me?
Yeah.
Let me say good morning to your viewers and good morning to Ghana and good morning to my co-panelists. What is bugging me? What is bugging me is Ghana.
What about Ghana?
Everything about Ghana is lopsided.
Yeah.
Upside down. I mean, really. It's not an easy road. Look at the depreciation of the cedi, the cost of goods and services, the dwindling standard of living, the medical situation. Look at the drugs that were left at the ports, and now it has been cleared, I've heard.
Nana, you have to speak up for us.
You can't hear me. How can I speak up under this circumstances?
You mean the problems are weighing you down, eh?
It is weighing me down.
But we have to try for our audience.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, if you put everything together, it is not the best. We are not in very good times. And I always say that it is time for us to change the MPP. If for nothing at all, for us to also try another option so that we see how it goes. But as it stands now, and the sad thing is the way they always make us feel that they are the best. At least if you accept it for us, we would, feel okay. If somebody hurts you and they apologize, even though you know sometimes they don't mean it, then they have apologized.
At least you understand that they know what
they've done. But they don't. Yes, but they don't see it. What we are going through, they don't see it. You buy fuel at 60-something cedis a gallon. You buy yam at 50 cedis per tuber. You buy plantain one finger.
You buy tangerine for 7 cedis.
Yes.
One tiny little.
Yes,
ball.
you are talking about. I went to buy guava. They said 86 cedis. I said why? Because it is imported.
Ah well.
We can't grow guava anymore. When we were kids, guava used to grow in our backyard.
Anyway, Mr. Money.
Nana, my junior sister, has reignited the internal debate on whether NDC is the best or MPP is the best. But we leave that decision to the good people of Ghana.
Yeah.
My take is on the almighty announcement tomorrow, endorsing Dr. Matthew Bogo Prempenapo as the running mate for Dr. Baumia. Political parties are the building blocks of democracy. So when there are cracks in the political party, they impact directly on our democracy.
Yeah.
So if our democracy is to enjoy an upswing, then we should all make it a point to ensure that we avoid pronouncement or acts which will send us on a downward spiral. I'm saying this in relation to what MP Mr. Andy Apia Kubi said about Dr. Matthew Boko Napo. Party unity is of utmost importance now. I believe a lot of political rectitude and strategic necessity went into the selection of Napo. So it behoves every member of the party to rally behind him to ensure that the MPP goes to this crucial election on a united front and not a divided one.
Okay.
So we should watch our pronouncement in the party. Discipline party unity is of crucial importance.
Yeah.
So we will urge our brothers and sisters in MPP, mend fences and then toughen it up with MPP. Yeah. So this is my.
I mean, the majority leader did call for unity last week, saying that whatever the case, they should fix it internally and not be airing.
Exactly. And there's a cardinal principle in communication. Even though we have the freedom of speech, we have all the latitude to ventilate our concerns and opinions on every issue under the sun. But that principle states that the truth of a matter is not enough justification for saying it. We all know Napo has good side and bad side. He's strategic. He's a political strategist, but at the same time, he has a lot of work to do to spruce up his image. So, but it's not right. The timing is wrong for anybody to at least hit on his bad side.
Anyway, okay. Let's get into the papers now, and then hopefully we'll get into some stories that will bring us back to the conversation of what this strategy is and if this is what the NPP really needs to break the 8. I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Banner stories: free SHS bill goes to cabinet, seeks cancellation of BECE for SHS admissions, and SHS to be 6 years. Be courageous, firm in the face of challenges, Ochinhene says to journalists. On the Snake Rock City negotiations, it is stalling, the Director General says. Okay, so let's get into the paper now. And let's start with a story about the free SHS bill, which is now gone to Cabinet. The free SHS bill 2024 will be presented to Cabinet for a debate this week. So it hasn't yet been presented. It will be this week. The proposed bill being drafted by the Ministry of Education is to give legal backing to the provision of free senior high school and compulsory education at the senior high school level. The Minister of Education, Dr. Yeoduchum, said last Friday that the bill would also propose the decoupling of junior high school from basic school and make it part of the secondary school, thereby creating 6 years of secondary education. The minister said another proposal of the bill was the cancellation of the basic education certificate examination as a precondition for gaining admission to the secondary level. Rather, it would be used for school selection purposes. So when this bill is passed, the certification for completing senior high school would become the first level of formal certificate any student can obtain in the country, rather than the BEC certification. That is according to the Minister of Education. How do you receive this news? So first, senior high school is now going to be extended to 6 years, including junior high school. So we have a whole 6-year term for secondary education, which means basic school is just from kindergarten or nursery up to primary 6. And you no longer need BEC as a prerequisite to enter secondary education. Rather, it's just a way of selecting schools. Okay, I want to reserve my comment and take your thoughts. I'll start with you, Mr. Palu, because you're right here with me.
Yeah,
What's the meaning of it?
I think is the best decision.
How so?
Oh yeah, because to us as a party, it's part of our manifesto that we're going to merge the JHS and the SHS. So we believe that they picked the idea from us because we've been saying it all over, and I think they bought into it and they are using it. But where we have a problem is the removal of the BEC exams. It has to still be there. That is the lower or the
primary school?
No, I'm talking about the JHS. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And then the SHS will be 4, 5, 6.
Yes,
the same
6
thing.
years.
Nothing has changed. It's just that you put them on the same compound, okay? But when they get to Form 3, they will do exams.
That also means that you don't need any sort of examination or certification to get into secondary. So everyone
you don't need it, because you don't need to drop anybody. You have to allow them to flow. You understand?
So all the numbers that will be churned out from junior high school automatically on
exactly.
board to secondary
yes,
school.
Yes, because at that age, they are 14 years, 15 years, and what would they do?
What do you think this really does for us?
Yeah.
What benefits do we stand to gain from it?
The benefit is that you get most of your young people to acquire a secondary education. At least it will be the minimum of education that your people will have.
Oh, they're still getting that now?
Yeah, because you see, when some of our kids graduate at JHS and they are not able to continue, okay? So this one will become automatic that every child will go to SHS.
Well, I'm asking these questions because we have free SHS now, although it's debatable, although the policy needs review and all that. We have free SHS, which means that every, child who qualifies of school-going age to enter senior high school can actually go to school for free.
Yeah.
So if it's about, access to senior high school, they already have that access. Yeah. So decoupling senior high school, junior high school from basic education, eliminating BECE, you think that propels this free or access to senior high school agenda?
No, eliminating or cancelling the BECE is what I'm not in support.
Okay.
Because the kids must do some exams when they finish Form 3, the 3rd year. They should definitely do that exam. Yes. But that will not send them to Form 3 or let them graduate from like the current system. Yeah. They still have to continue.
So it means whether you pass or not, you just continue.
Oh, exactly. Because my my case, I experienced in that in Ireland. That's where my kids are. They went to junior high, finished, they did their junior certificate exams. Those who opted to continue, went to Form 5, 5th year. Instead of 4th year, they went straight to 5th year and then 6th year.
Okay.
Some decided to go out to do voluntary, whatever, or some went to do some work experience.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But here, we are not going to do that. It's like a continuous
All right.
6-year program.
All right.
So it's something that is done elsewhere. It's not like this is going to be the first time.
Okay.
But I will buy into the situation whereby we're going to, like you said, we have to review the
free SHS.
The free SHS to
now
improve
a
it.
bill.
Yeah, to improve it.
Okay.
I will buy into that.
All right. Nana Yajantua. The only thoughts I have on what you said is what then motivates these junior high school students to actually study hard.
That is the point.
I don't secondary school.
I don't even understand the whole thing that you are talking about. That I finished class 6. What exam do I do at class 6? In our time, we did a common entrance. It looks like they want to bring back that system, but it's not very, straight as it is. Okay. I finished class 6. I do the common entrance. It allows me to go into a school of my choice. If I'm not able to go into a school of my choice, I do a second choice or a third choice. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Then I go into secondary school up to Form 5. Then I do 6th form. Then after 6th form, I go to university.
Yes.
Right now, I don't understand that BEC, you won't do any exam. Then you go straight into SHS. I mean, how is that? So the class 6, how do you get into the BEC? So from class 6 straight to secondary school.
These are questions we should be posing to
no,
the
I mean, seriously,
everyone who is supposing.
Nobody is a kid. As long as you are in school. Me, I went to Form 1 at 10 and a half. One of the youngest. Did you get me? I was 10 and a half years when I went to Form 1. I competed with people who were older than me. That's about the youngest you go to Form 1.
Okay.
Do you understand? I competed with people who were older than me. I did well in my common entrance. I was promoted 3 times as I was in primary school. So how do you say that the young ones should not be stressed? They should be allowed to go. I don't understand.
Okay.
Young people should be made to compete. Do you understand? So that you know that I learned and I passed. It's not a freebie.
And it's not just about passing. It's the commitment to study.
Yes.
The skills you gain from
learning.
Okay. Let's go to Mr. Moni.
We've come a long way from 7-year secondary education, from 5, 6th form, and it came to 4 years, 3 years, and now we're going back to 6 years. My only take is that we need to subject this to rigorous scrutiny and analysis. This is a time to bring on board people with distilled knowledge in education, so that they will prefer their views and suggestions to shape this policy so that it will be of supreme interest, supreme benefit to our children and the nation at large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Going forward, let's see how that goes, because it will be presented to cabinet, and so I'm sure it'll come up for debate, and people would have to listen to the input of all stakeholders involved in the educational sector. They can't just go ahead.
The MPs, as usual, will play political football with us.
No, but they've already put a bill together without...
Look at experts, yeah.
They've put a bill together without getting inputs from anybody. Now the bill is going to Parliament, and whatever happens, then they pass it. Before you even put the bill together, you need to do all your stakeholder consultations on the matter. In fact,
and there's that question about whether there's actually a policy framework for the...
That is what I'm saying. I always say that when you do a bill, you should have a source document. After the source document, then you put your bill or your law in place. Then after that, you put your LI to regulate whatever it is. But where is the source document, the policy itself for this?
Again, we are told that a piece of legislation on free SHS is in the offing. So I don't know how we can align. I don't know how
progressively free senior higher education and all that. Okay, let's do some more stories. Now on this Senate...
Because you were talking about a review of the SHS.
The policy.
Yeah, this part of the review. Okay, because this one, it definitely the end result is that we're going to have day schools. All the secondary schools are going to be day eventually, because we're going to start using the current JHS schools to run this senior higher education.
Are you saying this bill is part of the review of the policy?
Yes,
it's SHS policy?
Yes, it's part.
But isn't that backwards?
No.
Because the things we're calling for in terms of reviews, the quality of food, whether or not it should be a scale of preference, those who can afford to pay should pay, those who can't afford fall under. So if you present this bill to Parliament and to Cabinet...
No, this one is going to eliminate the boarding system. Okay? This is going to take away the boarding system.
Really? I haven't read the entire bill, so I cannot confirm that.
Yeah, but that is the end game. It's going to take away the boarding system, so that the case where they are. Because see, if a child is at maybe a junior high now, he has only 3 years to go to SS. Okay, so they can continue where they are.
Have you seen?
You just add additional infrastructure at where they are. Okay, and then they finish there. They don't need to go to boarding.
My dear, can I come in a minute?
Yeah.
Most of these JHS schools are private.
Yes.
Yeah, they continue.
About 70% private. I have put my investments in something, and my vision is to do a junior high school. Then you are, as a private investor, you are now forcing me to yes, because you see, who is going to extend it for them? You are going to add on more classrooms, more teachers. The curriculum will change. Everything, even the compound will change.
Yeah, that's for business, you see.
All right, we have to, let's do other stories now.
Just a quick one. You know, as a business person, I believe that it is even the best for the private schools, because now you can go to your bank, you can acquire, because there's the demand for your service, okay? Because you're building additional classrooms, additional infrastructure. The banks will be ready to support that, okay? And now the kids who are in the private schools will continue to be at the private schools and finish there. And those who are in the public schools will finish in the public schools.
Okay.
And now this is going to even reduce the burden on the state.
Mr. Palu,
from running senior high
this matter
school.
Needs more probing, but let's put a pin in it and do other stories. So on the Smith Rock City negotiations, the Director General is saying that the process is stalled. The story is on page 13 of the Daily Graphic. I'll read a bit of it for context and then we get into it. Negotiations between Tier 1 Pension Fund Manager, Social Security and National Insurance Trust and Rock City Hotel Limited over the sale of 60% stake in 4 of its hotels have stalled. This is because there are major challenges regarding the payment terms of the deal, the Director General of SNIT, Kofi Osafo-Mafo, has said, breaking his silence over the matter for the first time. Now, Rock City, we know the story. Rock City wants to take over 4 SNIT hotels, 60% stake in 4 hotels, and now they're saying that it has stalled. It looks like the demonstrations and the calls for this negotiation to be stalled has actually come to fruition. What did you say? I'll start with you, Mr. Moni.
I think that issue is not the concerns of many stakeholders, because SNIT is a baby of workers. The concerns of the working force and political actors, especially around this time, we expect everybody to view issues from partisan lenses. And obviously, we then blame the MDC and others for making political capital out of the internal sale of SNIT shares to Rock City. But the concern is the sale of the shares to Brian Achampong. I think that is the crux of the matter.
Okay.
So
let me just put a quote for context. He says, quote, until we see the money and the payment plan agreed according to our terms, there will be no deal. So they're stalling because there's some controversy about payment terms and whether or not there's cash on hand to actually purchase this.
As I said, it is the concerns of organized labor.
Yes.
And opposition political parties is that Brian has put himself in a conflict of interest position.
Yes.
So Brian is no as far as the sale is concerned. So Senate is on a different tangent altogether.
Yeah.
That they will want the cash in full before they dispose of their shares in the hotels. But thus, I doubt if this will meet the approval of people who are opposing this agreement to the Hills.
Nanaya Jantua.
The way you mention my name. You see, when I saw this, I was mortified. I said, so these SNIT people, they don't want to listen. Who are they going to engage? We have told them our mind. Because we have paid money into SNIT. And we don't want it to go to anybody. Rather, you should come and tell us that they are going to get proper management to manage the hotels.
We don't want it to
No,
we
because
don't want them to
that is our investment. And we don't want it to go to anybody. Tomorrow, we have seen it in this country before, divestiture. It goes through the process, and by the time you realize the thing is vanquished, you can't even find it. So this is divestiture, because their chairman said it is being divested.
Yeah.
So we are not going to allow, because our money is in there. The pension money. The people who are on pension.
But Pension Regulatory Authority also
they
said
they halt this sale. So I don't understand what he's saying, but we will continue to engage. This is what I was saying before. You see, this government, they don't listen. They don't care. Because why do you say, who are you going to engage? The people who own the thing said the 60%, they said we don't want it to be sold. So leave it at that. Let's see it. Because you see, the issue of Brian, and sometimes it's pathetic. Brian started all this thing when he wasn't a minister. I remember, I guess 2018, he started the bidding. He wasn't a minister.
Yeah.
So in this world, you have to know what is good for you, what suits you. It's either he wants to be a businessman or he wants to be a minister. Because as a member of parliament, he could write to the speaker that he wants to engage in a business allowed. But as a minister, it's a clear conflict of interest.
And does he not know this? That's sometimes,
no, but
sometimes when I think
it's possible he doesn't know.
How do you not know?
You see, the code of ethics of ministers, you are not supposed to be engaged in economic ventures.
Yeah.
Do you get me? The code of ethics, they should bring it so that we see if it is there or it is not there. You are supposed to work and be committed to the people of Ghana. Sometimes I even have a problem with that, but that is what it is now.
Yeah.
So what business do you have going in there? Besides, we are saying that it should not be so. They should listen.
Mr. Safamafu is saying that their interest right now is restructuring the non-performing hotels. And
no, but
whatever that translates.
Yes, restructuring.
That's the best that he.
I want to know how much pension Mr. Safamafu has paid.
Yeah.
As a SNIT contribution. Do you get me? How much is his money in there? And I believe it is time for us to, one, change our constitution. And number two, make sure that the SNIT board, chief executive, should be appointed by labor, not government. Because people who are from government, they see things differently. I want to, if he has paid pension before, if his money is there, he will feel very, very passionate about it. He would understand what we are talking about. We have seen SNIT investments sprawled all over. At the end of the day, what is the dividend coming out of it? Flats, hotels, whatever. Nobody is even taking account of what is coming out of it. Meanwhile, this is money for pensioners. After going to DDEP, if at the end of the day this one too goes bad, what then happens? What then happens to workers? Yes, because people depend on their pension.
People depend on their pension, Mr. Palu.
Yeah, it seems like we are confusing the whole thing.
How so?
Yeah, because you see, SNIT, what is it? What is their business? They are not supposed to run hotels. Are they hotel managers?
But it's okay. Finish your trail of
thought, then I can
understand what you're saying.
SNIT, their role is to invest the monies given to them.
Okay.
But the beneficiaries.
Okay.
So that in the future, they can give something back to them. So SNIT has a role to play in managing those funds with them. So they put their monies in so many products or portfolios. It's up to them to decide that this portfolio, we are getting the needed returns or we are not getting. So where they are not getting the returns, it's prudent for them to move away from that investment if they can get their monies back. If you take companies like Aerospace, SNIT have investment there. Now where is Aerospace? It's gone.
It's gone.
Okay? So there are so many investments that Senate have done that they are not getting any proper returns. Even if you go to AWA, Africa World Airlines, they have investments there, okay? But they've never received any dividends so far.
And you know this for a fact?
Yes. Okay. The first time they're going to get dividends will be this year.
Okay.
Okay, so there are so many investments that they have done, but they are not getting anything. But we, the beneficiaries, what we are looking for is that SNAIT to be able to pay us when we need our money.
Are you saying that so we shouldn't concern ourselves with how SNAIT invests money?
Yes. So now
this is even the first time hearing that they've put our money in our.
No, I'm coming. You see, so that's why I have to do a lot of. There are so many companies that they've invested in because they cannot keep those monies in the box, sitting idle. The monies must go into investment so that it can yield something, so that those who are going to start receiving benefits in the long run can get something. You know, so leaving the money in those hotels, they believe that it will not help the Senate. So they want to take their monies out, okay, and then reinvest it in something else. But we sitting somewhere, we think, oh, it's hotel. We need, no, it's not about the hotel. It's about our investment, where the money goes into. So they have a lot of hotels. They believe that they can lump them up and then dispose their interest, okay? That's why they are selling the profitable and then the unprofitable hotels. They're lumping them, and then who is going to buy those that they are not making profit? If you are not making profit, you want it to be sold to who?
Are you saying that SNAIT has the right to invest our money anywhere they fit to make profit? Are you aware that International Labour Organization predicted that by 2050 or so, SNAIT's coffers will be depleted and they will not be able to
because if they allow...
Say again.
They've come out to deny
They've come out to deny that. Are you saying to me that if you bought shares in, let's say, GTCO or EcoBank Global or something, you bought stocks, right? And you wouldn't mind, you wouldn't probe what they did with your money, even if it meant that your money, they could potentially run a loss and then they will come back to you.
You see, you'll be concerned about how the money is being managed elsewhere, okay? So some of the concerns is that this investment here is not being profitable. So if I can sell it.
Abadi Beach Hotel is profitable.
No, you see.
They have paid 5 million dividend.
Maybe I'm not getting what you're saying.
Yeah, you see, it's profitable to you because
you know. Would you sell a venture that's profitable to you, for you?
Yes. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. I'm an accountant. There's nothing wrong.
And the payment plan would be that the person works and pays you over time. So it's like work and pay. I take over your business that is profitable to you, and then I'll pay you with the money that I'll earn from running the place after I've taken it over from you.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Because that's what Brian Champon proposed, to pay over time, over a 3-year period.
I don't care about Brian Champon. What I care is what SNAIT is doing. Please, listen carefully. Okay. I don't want it to go into personal issue. All right. You see, now, they have investment here in this portfolio. They believe that right now they can sell it, get some money, good money out of that, than to leave the money to stay there.
They believe.
Okay? So, that's a right decision that they have taken as SNAIT. But you are sitting somewhere, you will not understand because you play too much politics about the whole thing. It's not about politics, it's about investment. You believe that the money is here, you cannot tie the money there, so you can remove the money and invest it in something else.
What is that something else?
It can be anything. There are so many products that they invest their money in. They don't invest their money in. That's why you are sitting here. You didn't know they have monies in our.
I mean, you just without telling us. My money is with you. Without telling me.
They have money in trust logistics.
Let me
seriously. Let me be very serious here. I put my money. I put my money in a fund. Do you get me? And it is my pension. Then you invest it in ventures without calling a meeting or even doing some media.
Breaching procurement processes.
Yes. I mean, how do you go and invest my money in a venture without even making me have a say? And now, historically, most of the ventures that SNAIT puts our money in always go bad. Kofi here talked about Aluex. It has gone bust. Today, if this airline also folds up, our money is gone. Now you are saying that the hotels are not doing well. So
some of them. But
some of them are not doing well. So you want to sell them off. You get the bulk sum. What are you going to use it for? At least there should be somebody who is investigating where to put the money so that it doesn't go bust. It doesn't go bad. Because this money is not, you see, if I put my money in an investment and it goes bad, it is my responsibility. But this is a money for a number of people whose life at the end of the day after 60 depends on this money. So you
to a large extent, we need transparency.
We need transparency.
Exactly.
We need to know what
because we don't need.
If Nana
we don't
is much
need
concerned
coffee
about
here.
Senate, yeah. If Nana is much concerned about Senate, then you should go and look for the portfolio where Senate have put money.
How are we going to
CDH?
They should come and tell us.
CDH, they have money there. Okay.
No,
now, if you go to CDH, you go to Ivory Finance.
See,
there's so many.
No, but
Yeah.
let me put this in perspective.
Yes.
It's not about the number of ventures that SNIT invests our money in.
And they are not
It's
getting
about
anything.
doing the right thing.
Yes.
This man, Brian Echampon, his hotel does not even have enough money to buy the hotels that he wants to buy. And this man, hold on a second for me. He's not supposed to be even venturing near any government property or business, state institutions in terms of acquiring it. That's where the principle of state capture comes in. And so we are saying that Brian Echampon and his Rock City Hotel, it's a no-no for us. It is our money. We decide that we don't want him to do that because if you know how to turn it around, why don't you present it to cabinet so that you actually turn the finances around to benefit us because you're a minister?
No, you see.
So the issue is not that they shouldn't invest our monies. The issue is that we need transparency. We need to understand.
Profitably.
And in terms of procurement processes, it needs to be strictly adhered to.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. I agree with you. But still, you need to understand this. Investments done by SNIT doesn't mean they have total control of that company or whatever.
But that's the very reason why we invest, so you can have control over the money,
Yes,
so you know where it goes and what it does for you.
60% shares, you don't have control.
Like what Nanaya was saying, that they should come and tell us.
Of course, because it's our money.
Every day they should come and tell us.
No, it's not every day.
That's why you have fund managers. Fund managers are managing your fund.
Please. So if you are investing my money, you can buy a page in the newspaper. Tell us that so far, this is what your money is being invested in. Or this is the proposal to invest your money. Yes. If you miss it in the newspapers, or you do, please, you do some engagement. So that at the end of the day, consistent engagement. So at the end of I know that, okay, I've taken my money to a good place.
Yeah.
Because you see, if they take about 15% of your salary, or I think 18, 15, every month, consistently, and if you work for 30 years, for the 30 years, every month, granted that you took 15% of your salary and put it somewhere and invested yourself, or even use it every 1 year to buy land and start building. By the time you finish, you'd have about 4 or 5 houses. Then when you go on pension, you'll be taking rent from these houses.
And so you're trusting the state to
do this for you.
Exactly.
Do this for me.
I think that's the big.
You should be answerable. You cannot just say that you are going to invest.
Is there anybody who has gone on pension and he has not received? What is it?
It is not what you receive, it's how much.
I think we can agree to disagree, but my dear, to a large extent, we don't, not I, to a large extent, looks like Nanaya Jantwa and Mr. Moni don't agree with what you're saying.
It's understandable.
Yes.
It's understandable.
But
in the
I
sense that
also want you to understand that
the three of you
in terms of what SNIT is doing, we are not saying they should come and every day tell us today we are doing, we are saying that adhere to procurement processes. Don't sell state institutions to government officials or ministers because it is not done. And if you actually choose to sell in terms of restructuring or because we're in financial crisis, we need to know
Sure.
First, why you are doing it, how you're doing it, who's involved, when and where the money is coming. Yeah. That's it.
And then lastly, sweetie, I think SSNIT should be gravely concerned about its image, which has been dented, battered, butchered, and then shattered. Because image is everything. Once your image suffers this decline, then it should sit up. So all these lingering issues reinforce the need for SSNIT to, number one, stop the internet sale, and then engage the stakeholders. After all the management are the employees of workers. So the workers' input can never and should never be ignored as far as this issue is concerned.
That's democracy.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do some. Let's do some other stories. I'm sorry. We don't have time.
Just
NPP UK. I'll come back to you. NPP UK YEF raised £1.2 million to support Bawumia's campaign. This story, I think we caught wind of it last week or last 2 weeks. But now the question of if they should be raising that much money outside, and whether or not it's legal. There was an argument in the newsroom about if that institution, which is registered in the UK, it means that it's an international body, should be raising money for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign. But for context, I'll just get into the story briefly and I'll come to you. So the New Patriotic Party executives and supporters in the United Kingdom, along with the Young Executive Forum, have raised £1.2 million to support Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's 2024 presidential campaign. The amount raised at a fundraising dinner in central London is the highest ever realized by the branch ahead of any election. And for context, in 2016, the NPP UK and YEF raised about $150,000 for Akufo-Addo's campaign, while in 2020 they raised a total of $450,000. So this is the highest they've seen so far. How do you feel about this, Mr. Moni?
I'm wondering whether this conflicts the political party's law. I haven't done any research to come to any conclusion. But on the other side, this hefty amount is a vote of confidence in the leadership of the NPP. I believe it to galvanize their campaign and ensure that they break the 8. So kudos to the UK branch of MPP. So political parties they need money. They need the oxygen of money to operate.
5 months to elections.
5 months to election, a very crucial election, which will either consign an MPP to opposition or break the 8. This election can also determine the comeback of NDC. They are desperate to come back to power.
Or the rise of one of these independent candidates and
like LPG.
The movement for second.
LPG.
Yeah. Mr. Palu here, or Alan Chirmanting and his alliance.
I think Mr. Palu and Alan will agree with me that it is not within the bounds of possibility for. It's not their time. It's not their time.
You can't say that, though.
Oh,
the
no,
way Ghana is.
It is not their time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll win it. I'll win the election.
That's very ambitious.
Yes, very ambitious.
I'll win it.
Overly ambitious.
Oh, I wouldn't say overly. I mean, it's ambitious.
I'll win this election.
Okay.
Oh, no. This election.
Where's your confidence coming from?
The man is everywhere.
We are campaigning.
Okay.
Yeah, we are campaigning. It's not like we are not campaigning. We are also campaigning on the ground. And it's going in our favor. Because
do you have the money to win? The NPP is
you don't need only. You don't need one.
That's almost 220 million
cedis,
right?
It's
or
not
20 something million.
28 million.
Yeah.
If you use
it's not only money. It's not only money. You also need the help of other people to do certain things for you without asking you for money. Yeah. Some people will volunteer.
Okay.
And people have also made their mind that they're not going to vote for MPP and NDC. Majority of Ghanaians, they've made their mind. I believe you, even if you get opportunity, you vote against the two.
I feel the faith. So that's the last story. I have to come to Nanaya and then we'll get into your papers. Nanaya. You were saying something about the 1.2 million.
No, it's 28 million Ghana cedis.
Okay.
Is it 1.2?
It's 1.2 pounds. Million
okay,
pounds.
So 26 million Ghana cedis. I mean, every political party needs money to run around. I mean, whether you win or not, you need a certain... The CDD put it at about $100 million. Dollars for a real... Yes, a real campaign. $100 million. So...
Political parties can raise that amount.
Yes,
but we are going to IMF for about half of that.
Half of that. So amongst ourselves, amongst wherever.
Yeah.
I also asked the question, and I'm told that because the people are not British, but they are Ghanaians. But I'm wondering, how can a Ghanaian live in the UK? You should have requisite papers to live in the UK. Unless they are telling us that those who donated are just residents. We need to go into that because the political parties law does not allow foreigners to donate to political parties. Yes. And you can be a black Ghanaian but a British. And as long as you donate, it means it's a foreigner. Because if you are a Ghanaian and you live in Ghana, and you are British, you are American, you are Swedish, you still need to have a resident permit to live in Ghana, unless you do the dual citizenship. So for us to look into, we need to look into, if that's what we want to do, we need to look into the background of those who donated.
The other side is that they say it was a fundraising dinner.
Yes.
So it means that they didn't actually put a structural system in place to say, raise this amount for us. They had a dinner, people were making merry, and they decided to donate out of the goodness of their heart. But the amount in question is a bit too big.
Yes, but the people who donated, who are they? It is key.
Okay.
Because I'm saying you cannot live in Britain and without any papers. Okay. You should live there either as a resident or as a British citizen.
All right.
Do you understand me? So, I mean, if we really want to go into it, and being in Britain, to get people donating this in Britain, I mean, and the kind of people who are there, really, we need to find out. But that is also their own business of wanting to break the 8. Yeah.
I'll take your words on this, and then I'll do some quick headlines.
I think this is normal. Okay. It's not anything that we should worry ourselves with. Because NDC recently did the same thing in Atlanta. Okay. If you check the 6th of May daily graphic, it's there. Okay. They raised money, so everybody's doing it. Okay. And they are raising these monies from our own people. Okay. Ghanaians outside, because if you go to all those places, MPP and NDC, they have their branches there. And those people are contributing to the parties. So I don't think there's anything unethical or anything.
The question is really just about checks and balances, and if whether or not these
because the law says something. The law says you cannot get contributions.
You see, this one, if you get foreigners, if you get 120 people who are supporting MPP in the UK,
and each giving how much?
£10,000.
£10,000, British man.
You don't have it, so don't worry, because so many people in the UK, they have more than that. Okay.
I've just been told we have just a few minutes to go. So let me quickly get into some headlines, and I'll come to you for your stories.
Oh, but we have done everything.
So everything. Let me take your stories, and then I'll conclude here.
Okay.
Your banner stories, and then.
The good news is that the $360 million will hit the account of Bank of Ghana today.
What paper is that?
That is the custodian. Okay. And this is good news because you know the epileptic behavior of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that epileptic behavior of the
as compared to the dollar.
I like that.
So this will help.
Let me notice epileptic behavior.
This will help stabilize. Yeah.
Epileptic. Let's listen to
it. We need the financial oxygen, because going to an election, expenditure will skyrocket. Yeah. Workers will demand what is due, even what is not due them. And in the name of politics, you're obliged to respond positively. Otherwise, there'll be a backlash on election day. Yeah. So, good news. So, we need to commend the finance minister for working tirelessly towards this financial respite.
Right.
And another story on the custodian is that the information minister has presented a report on the RTI to Parliament. The Nigeria law bill had been incubating for so many years. I remember as a member of the Eritrea coalition, we had to hit the streets. We went to parliament, made a lot of noise. For 20 years, this law bill had been incubating, and it took the boldness of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo to pass it into law. So kudos to his government. And then Eritrea serves as a tool in the fight against, a vital tool in the fight against corruption and transparency. So if you look at the major scandals, the exposure of major scandals, and Eritrea also serves to shed light in so many dark spots. So we are commending the government. Upon Kuma did a very good job. He was brilliant as information minister. And Hajia Fatima also has stepped into her shoes. We pray that she will match up towards Honorable Kojo Nkrumah.
Okay. All the best to them. I mean, in terms of implementation, there are still some challenges there. There are some
roadblocks.
That don't have information officers.
Deliberate roadblocks.
You request information and it takes months. Sometimes they dump boxes of figures for you. But I mean, to the large extent, it's the law now. Yeah. It's doing good. It's helping us expose wherever exposition needs. Nanaya Janswa.
I think we've said most of the things.
What paper do you have?
I have the Ghanaian Publisher. We've talked about SNET. Senior colleague here talked about FATI.
Okay.
Now, LEAP, they said LEAP beneficiaries to share 103 million. It's a good thing.
Okay.
I mean, we hope it is shared properly so that everybody gets the benefit therein. We don't want any situation where they will say 103 and meanwhile nobody gets anything.
Okay.
If it's good for them to, I mean, help this
thing.
What
you have to go. Pardon? This is what you have to go and look for. Who are the beneficiaries?
We have to go. Let her get
and IGP not removed police.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, that thing that happened, I said it was very unnecessary, and now the parliamentary team has come out to say that the officers, what they did was unethical. It was of unethical behavior. So, I mean, he's doing well. I don't think anybody should make life difficult for him, but he should start looking at the motor riders. They are just causing a mess. You'll be driving and you find that at your right side, the motor rider will just come and cross you. I think it is time that he looked there to ensure safety on our roads.
All right. Yeah. Mr. Apalu.
Yeah.
This is like 30 seconds. Do magic for me in 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
You can't do it.
Yeah, from the Delhi Guide, we have multiple suicide bombings.
In Nigeria?
That killed at least 18 people over the weekend.
Yes, over
the
weekend. So I think it's something that we need to look at, because the weddings and then the hospital and a whole lot of places were bombed. So we need to learn some lessons from it. That we shouldn't take things for granted.
Ghana should be a no-go area.
Exactly.
All right. This is all that time will allow us to do, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being my guest. We have Mr. Afilmoni, the former GJA president, Nanaya Janswa, former director for public relations at PRC and former general secretary for the CPP, and Mr.
The next president.
Say again?
The next president of
Excellence.
Is that how you're introducing yourself?
Excellence.
And then the first Votarian president.
Okay, and the first Votarian
You are not the first Votarian president.
JJ
was the first.
Thank you so much for joining
us.
Stay with us. Sports is up next.
What are you talking about?
You're the next president.
Who was voted?
Hello everyone, welcome to AM Sports. Here with me, Muftahu Nabila Abdullah. Over the weekend, Ghanaian footballers were honored for their outstanding performance in the year under review. Mohamed Kudus was voted the Ghana Football Player of the Year for the second consecutive time. And he says that as one of the young players in this national team, what he wants to do is to build a bond among his teammates.
And the winner is Mohamed Kudus.
I would like to thank everyone who left their time and come here to experience these amazing awards. And I would want to use this opportunity to give thanks to everyone who put in effort to make sure this nice event happened today. I'm happy to be named as the Player of the Year. It's a testament of my hard work from my teammates, my family. And before I continue, I would like Fatau to be in front of me here. I would like to thank Fatau for coming here to support, even though he's part of the nominees as well. As part of the new generation, one of my aims is to increase the unity and the love between us. And this season, in as much as we are competing for the award, it's a very healthy competition, and then he has pushed me a lot this season, and I've pushed him a lot too. I've told him this already, but in front of everyone, I want to use this opportunity to tell him how proud I am of his journey and how far he has come and what he has done this season at Leicester. And this is a source of motivation for me and him and all the upcoming players coming up. And there has been a lot of legends here. I can't mention names, but I want to use this opportunity to thank all of them, because everything they have done in the past years has paved the way for us, the young ones, to get here today. So our responsibility is also pave the way even clearer for the upcoming ones and then pass the torch backwards. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
You heard him talk about how other players paved the way for them to get here. One of such players is Reverend Osei Kofi. They were part of the first Black Stars national team that won the African Cup of Nations back-to-back in 1963 and 1965. However, he boycotted the 1972 AFCON that took place in Sudan. Reports emerged that he boycotted the competition due to bonus rules. But in a conversation with Prime Take, he denies those claims.
72, Sudan.
Yes.
We have qualified. I've been the spokesperson for almost...
In fact, you were described as the face of the national team.
And I was not there when they had a meeting, Malik, Ibrahim Sunday and co. That we are going to Sudan. And because we were amateurs in Ghana, we used to have a long period in camping. So in our works, you know, we are not promoted. So I should go and tell Katisiza that we are going to win the cup. So when we win and come on, will he help us to be having increment in our salaries. This is all. Then Katisiza asked me, are you a graduate? I wish you were there. I was only classroom. Have you seen any graduate playing football before? Football is for football also. You are from Winneba, so you think you are, who are you? You don't respect footballers. And that is the reason why you haven't gone to law school. You can never be a lawyer. But what about football? A carpenter can be a member of the technical team for a football team. And that is the reason why, because of what you have said to me, I'm not going. But if we win, you will get honor. You won't go. I didn't go.
But many people also say that maybe if you had gone for that tournament,
recently, before he died, Kwaku boy is writing a book for me.
Yeah.
He went to ask him, Kwasi, what do you know about Reverend Osei Kofi? I said, hey, Kwaku, Osei, or your troubles more than so, say, or come and you call Sudan, KJ Cup, no buy. And they lost in the finals 1-0. Instead of the president presenting the silver to Ghana first, you know, he presented the gold. So Ghana did not receive the silver. Somebody sneaked to tell the president that the Ghanaians are furious that they didn't even receive the silver medal. So that night, they were deported. So they came to stay at the airport. On Monday morning, when I woke up, I went out. Then I saw a car standing in front of my house in Kumasi. Why? Why Mr. Dabo from KJB? He came down and said, congratulations. I said, for what? And I say, for not going to Sudan, you've taken a bold step. I've never seen any man in this world like you. There is 2 weeks, something happening in KJB, and you have been nominated to be the guest of honor.
Now let's talk women's football, and sponsors of the Women's Premier League, they organized a workshop to build the capacity of players and administrators. My colleague Lawrence Bedu, and here are the details in this report.
Event, which took place at the Guinness Ghana Brewery's premises at Achimota, is part of the brand's plan to improve the communication levels of the players in terms of their public speaking, as well as provide them with the requisite knowledge about their personal and social media branding. The idea of the workshop was also to prepare the players for life after the end of their respective football careers. Former Black Queens player and coach Mesitegu Kwaku, head of public relations and strategy at the Ghana Football Association, Neil Armstrong Motagbe, and digital marketing experts Abena Chirapa were the resource persons for the workshop. Speaking at the end of the one-day event, the marketing manager at Guinness Ghana, Dina Edu Asare, explained the decision behind the initiative.
We believe that there's life after football. We believe that there's life beyond the pitch. And so as a brand, as a business, we thought of how can we invest in these women to prepare them for life after football or life beyond the pitch. So today we brought together resource people, some old players who are doing very well even after playing, to come and encourage them and to share their stories with them, and also direct them on how to make a better life beyond football or after football. We also have a personal branding expert and a social media expert to also take them through how they can improve their personal branding and then put themselves out there. I mean, today I am very happy hearing the stories of the girls and seeing their dreams and their visions and their ambitions. But point is that social media is a strong tool. Branding is also very strong, right? But how do we make them brand themselves in such a way that they can put themselves out there and get more?
Mesitegu, who lectured the players on life after football, also talked about the importance the workshop will have on the players.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to your listeners. I believe this is a very good program for these young girls. During my time, we did not get it like this. I believe we had gotten it like this, we would have been far ahead of where we are now today. That notwithstanding, I think it's also okay. Life is about planning. So if you bring such girls, football players like this to this place and give them this program, I believe it's going to go a long way to let them understand that there is always life after football. Many a time you see these stars that we've been hearing after football, their lives are nothing to write home about. So getting this an opportunity is a very good step in its right direction.
Malta Guinness has been the headline sponsor of the Ghana Women's Premier League in the last 2 seasons. Hazakes Ladies claimed the league title in the just-ended season after beating rivals Ampem Dakwa Ladies in the final, which was played at the University of Ghana Stadium.
Welcome back on the AM show. We'll be having a crucial conversation up next. I'll tell you about it. But before that, under the distinguished patronage of Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokonu, Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, the UPSA Law School proudly presents the 2024 Lifetime Achievement in Law Award and Honorific Lecture. Now, this event presents a rare but high-level opportunity to recognize and acknowledge the outstanding and exemplary contributions of notable Ghanaian personalities in the areas of the rule of law, governance, and the legal academy. Now, this year's Lifetime Achievement in Law Award will be conferred on Dr. SKB Asante, Paramount Chief of Asante Asokore, and former Director, United Nations Center on Transnational Corporations, and Chairman of the Committee of experts which drafted the 1992 Constitution of Ghana at an august ceremony befitting the aura of the occasion. This event comes off on Thursday, the 25th of July, 2024 at 5 p.m. at the Kofi Ohene Konedu Auditorium at the University for Professional Studies, Accra. Please visit the social media platforms of the UPSA Law School or call them on 0245 347 946 for more information. All right, so we're getting into our next conversation. It's an exclusive interview with a man who is currently chief editor at UN News, headquartered, of course, in New York. He has just completed an 18-month stint in South Sudan as the Director of Strategic Communications and Public Information for the UN mission in South Sudan. That is the UNMISS. Now, he has worked at the BBC in London for 12 years, where he was a popular voice across many programs, especially Network Africa. Since moving from the BBC in London in January 2000, in capacities including as Senior Communications Advisor to the President of the 66th session of the UN General Assembly, Associate Spokesperson, Office of the Spokesperson to the Secretary General, Spokesperson and Acting Chief of Communication and Public Information, UN Mission in Liberia, that is UNMIL, from 2006 to 2008, and then UN Humanitarian Spokesperson for the UN's earthquake recovery efforts in Pakistan in 2005-2006, and maybe just to add this one, Chief Executive Producer, UN Radio. My guest believes strongly in the servant leadership model, and he is a Pan-Africanist Christian who admires Ghana's founding president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, as his model of sacrificial and selfless public service. I'll be asking him about that later in the conversation, this sacrificial and selfless public service. But ladies and gentlemen, I give you the chief editor at the United Nations, Ben Dotsei Malor. Mr. Malor, good morning.
That was a long introduction. I wasn't expecting that.
I intentionally did that.
You could
your CV is a gold mine, and I just wanted people to appreciate who you are and where you come from. But let's start from the very start.
Yeah.
Who is Ben Dotsei Malor? Tell us about where you were born and growing up.
Ben Dotsei Malor is this village boy who, by some divine contrivances, found grace so that any good you see in this guy, anything that it brings inspiration and encouragement is largely down to the grace of God. I know that we say the grace of God in a way that would sometimes make people think it's just a religious expression, but for me it's a reality. I'm saying this because if you are intellectual, you're academic, you don't believe in God or you believe in God, when you see the trajectory of things, this village boy with a widowed mother of triplets from Ohavu in the Volta region, could write exams and pass well, but couldn't speak English well in Kata Secondary School, ends up at the BBC in London, speaking to millions of people. And when you look at all that, I'd never set foot in a studio in Ghana before I ended up in the studio at the BBC.
Right. We'll get there. Yeah. And that's an interesting story on its own. But you were born in Ohawu?
I was born 3 miles away. My mom went to the market 3 miles away from Ohawu, where we have an agricultural college. It's another town called Tadzevu.
Okay.
So my mom went to the market, and apparently I got excited in the market and wanted to come and do some trading in the market. She rushed to her family home in Tadzevu. So I was actually, in my passport, you will see birthplace is Tadzevu. And then Ohawu is where I grew up.
I see.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I've looked at some documentation. You're basically saying you're from Ohawu, but in your official documents, it's Tadzevu.
I was born in Tadzevu.
Right.
My mom went, there is a good market, what there was.
Right.
A good market in Tadzevu. My mom sold fish and other things. She would go to Agbozume and Akachi markets and then come and sell there. And she was clearly pregnant and went there, and then somehow I decided to make my entry into this world. So she had to go to her family members who are in Tajavu, and then I was born at home in Tajavu. Yeah.
What was it like growing up?
Growing up we were poor, but we didn't know it.
You were poor,
but we didn't.
But you didn't know it.
No, we didn't know it because our surrounding was free. We didn't have. I went to school without shoes, right? But everybody went to school without shoes.
For how long?
Oh, all throughout my primary school and middle school. I think until I left or I passed my common entrance from Bokuva Middle School, another 2-3 miles away from Ohavu. Until I passed my common entrance, I think it was in Kitasko that I started wearing shoes regularly. So for me, my mom was one of the few people in the community who was regularly stepping out to Akachi, to Agbozuma, to Tajavu, and then she was selling fish. So I don't want to compare, but we were in a better position than many people in that agricultural community. I just want to give you an example. Because my dad died when I was 8, and I was about the youngest, sometimes my mom would bring fish from Akachi or Agbozuma markets. And before going to school, even though boys didn't sell fish, you just look at this widowed mom, you had sympathy for her. So I would take the fish in the morning and go sell in 2-3 villages, Amanu, Vuti, and then come back. Sometimes I got to school late and I got caned for being a latecomer. But I was satisfied when I came back with the tray, either almost empty or empty, and I could give money to my mom. So there was a certain joy about that. So yeah, that's a part of the beginning life in Ohavu.
Walking barefoot to school and all of that, crossing many miles, selling fish. Just to ensure that, the family could keep body and soul
Let me just
together.
put this in a context. People used to come and buy fish on credit from my mom. So when I tell you that we were poor, but we didn't know, we thought we were even, not in a prideful way, we were even a little bit better. I didn't go lacking food or having to buy basic fish on credit. And my mom was so kind. Sometimes I think she forgot who owed her and that kind of thing. So that was the background. But we just thank God that we could keep going.
And I like the fact that you say you were poor, but you didn't know it. Sometimes it's a joy. But I'd like to find out from you. You talk a lot about selfless leadership. And as the conversation goes on, yes, we'll get into leadership, governance, and all that. I just want us to appreciate it from the very start. What was the foundation, religion-wise, for you? The principles you now adhere to. Did you find that later in life? Did you find your moral compass later in life? Or did it start with your upbringing in Kajebu or how?
It started with my mom. Credit to my mom, Tona, who actually comes from another town located, an island located in the middle of the Kata Lagoon called Seva. The Buckleys, the Adadavos, and several prominent families originally come from there, even if they found their footing in Kata. So my mom is from Seva, but married my dad, and we were based in Ohavu. My mom, because she had triplets, there was this belief among our people. If you've had twins or triplets, particularly as a woman, the understanding is everybody gets one child. If you are endowed by God to have 2 or 3, there must be something special about you. So my mom, she lost her name, Hobuju, because everybody called her by the title Tona, which means mother of triplets. And this somehow imposed a certain sense of mother for all duty on my mom. In fact, students who come to that Greek college, sometimes they'll go play soccer, and then they will get a sprain or something, and they can't walk well. The belief in many Ewe communities, urban communities, is that the mother of twins, the mother of triplets, has certain healing qualities.
Powers, a certain miraculous touch.
Yes.
I've heard of that.
So if you get sprained or you have this thing, your bones are a little bit, wake up in the morning, don't speak to anybody, go to this person at dawn, and they will just massage you. Nothing fetish or religious. In all sincerity, there was all massaging. And my mom got yokumi. Yokumi is shea butter from the north. And she would just use that in the morning. So sometimes the students will carry the injured player on their back. Early morning, they will come from their posh part of town into my mom's humble home, and my mom would just massage them. And then after a while. So my mom carried this aura, and she was always there for people. She would give credit to people. She didn't care. She looked out for people. So I think I imbibed, she would share gladly. So I imbibed some of that. Then when I became a Christian, for me, Christianity must be practical. Whether in public or...
When did it happen?
This happened sometime when I started Legon. And there was just this point. I was always looking out for God. But it got to a point one day, I don't know what I read, but I decided to fast for a day. And at the end of the day, I said, Lord, I've given my life to you. I want to do better than the training my mom is giving me. I want to be used in a way to be a blessing. I want to be guided by a power that is bigger than mine, bigger than my own desires and my own notions. So for me, I wanted the Christianity to be practical. What you see of me now, I shouldn't be a different thing when I'm with my wife and children at home. If I'm saying something now, my former schoolmates in Keta Secondary School, Mauli School, or Legon, or my family members can say, this is how he's... I don't want to be one thing to you, Benjamin, and then when I meet Kojo Youngson, I'm a different thing. And no, for me, I don't have the energy to do such. Let me be real.
To duplicate.
Yes,
right.
And that also, for me, Jesus exemplifies that sacrificial, selfless service to others. The joy of being somebody who is not just in there for money for yourself, for your family, but can God, through you, be a blessing to Benjamin Akapo or a blessing to Kojo Youngson? And then I myself have been a recipient of the kindness of many people. If I begin to tell you now, you will just see that how I ended up at the BBC in London, God had to use people. So when I could be available in very quiet, understated ways, not loud mouth, if God can use me to be a blessing to somebody I may never meet again, let it be. So for me, especially for public office, in Ghana, in Africa, where we are behind, having the responsibility of public office should be a privilege to sacrifice and to die a little. I believe in that principle, die a little, like Kwame Nkrumah did, like John Evans Atta Mills did, like, other great leaders, Jerry Rawlings, just saying, look, let's forget about ourselves. When things get better, we all rise together. Like John Dramani Mahama would try to do, to say, look, I am connected to everybody from every part of the country. I cannot be divisive. And then he gets too tolerant. I think if we find the phrase tolerant to a fault, even his enemies would agree that that applies to John Dramani Mahama. So for me, leaders who sacrifice, leaders who give their all, leaders like Julius Nyerere, leaders like Thomas Sankara, we are desperate for such sacrificial people in this time for generations.
And I see you're itching to get into the leadership and governance space. I will guide you there. But I just wanted to, just on education as well. It's always interesting how people start. And I know your story, which is why I want you to paint a picture for the rest of our viewers.
Okay.
I do know you wanted to go to my alma mater, Bishop Herman. So you're lost.
You're from Biheko.
I am a Bobu. I'm an old student of Bishop Herman College. Yes, I know you didn't know that, so I've sprung that on you. You wanted to go there, and you were refused. You ended up at Keta and Mauli. Tell us a bit about that phase. Tell us then about the University of Ghana and the experience. Then we'll come into leadership, your experience at the BBC and the UN.
Okay. I have a propensity for talking too much. So you need to guide me and stop me because...
No worries.
You know why? I blame it on the BBC. The BBC paid me to talk. So when I get a chance to talk, I talk thinking the more I talk, the more some money will come into my pocket. So I was just busy at school. They jumped me 1 or 2 classes, and then common entrance in Form 2 in Pokuva Local Authority Middle School.
Right.
For me, we didn't even know what common entrance was. The teachers just came and said, this photographer will take your pictures. Then you go to Akachi Training College and do these exams. Then you all just joined. I was first in class over there. Then we just went and did, and then they said I passed, right? My father was dead. My mom was there. And also in my community, there was something about finishing middle school to Form 4. And 1 or 2 guys came out from the village with distinction. And we rallied around them, we admired them. So for me, my journey in education was up to Form 4. Then Form 2, they said I had passed. And then when we did the thing, nobody guided us as to what schools to choose. But I heard about BACO. Bishop Herman was like college, not a mere secondary school. Look at the way you're smiling because it's your school.
I mean, it's the reality you're speaking.
So on my common entrance form, I chose Bishop Herman.
Right.
The results came. There was an Agric officer who kept track of who was passing. A Greek officer in Ohabu called Mr. Eric Lavoin from Afiaranyigba. And he knew that I had passed. Either I was the only one that year or something. So he came to my mom, not knowing Afiaranyigba people and Seva people just have the lagoon between, they are intermarried and they knew each other. But he came to my mom and said, what are you doing about this boy? Then my mom said, college in college matter,
it's all about money
matter.
Right.
So I haven't got any plans. Above all, this little kid has gone and chosen Pando. I am down here in the southern Volta. I don't know anybody in Pando. If he goes there, falls sick with malaria, what am I going to do? Travel all the way from down? I am in the same region, the same language people, but access, my mom was concerned I wouldn't go to Bishop Herman. I would rather stay and finish Form 4 and learn a trade. And Mr. Lavoin said, no, don't worry. First of all, this is how much I earn as an Agric officer, and I'm taking care of 1 or 2 people, including the late Dr. Koshinaza. I'm taking care of them in Qatar. Qatar is close to us. We have some relatives in Qatar. So I'm going to work to change Pando to Qatar, if we have to walk.
I guess it all starts with a K. All KBK.
So that's how I ended up in Qatar Secondary School by Mr. Lavoin, who took either 15, 30 minutes to come and convince this troubled widow that you can send this child to school. I'm doing the same thing with the little that I am getting. And then he gave like a pledge. If you get into any trouble, just come to me. Later on, they will tease each other that you offered me that, but I never came for it. Because my mom was of that generation.
Right.
They didn't want to take things from people that they couldn't repay.
Right.
She wasn't going to take advantage of the kindness of Lavoin. And then later on, we were all talking, and Lavoin was happy. And Lavoin, this is where I want to put out a lesson. Those of us in Accra, and we can travel back to our hometowns, there's probably a girl there who just needs your 10, 15 minutes of encouragement to become the next Chief Justice of Ghana. There is probably a boy there who could become the next Patrick Ewua. Just by going there, talking to the teachers, when you visit for a funeral, just make time. God can use a few words you speak to just open doors for somebody. So that is one big lesson for me. So when I meet people, I'm always praying behind my mind to God. Let me not just speak anyhow. Guide me to be a channel where you leave something. What Lavoie did, I can't thank him enough. I want to pay forward.
All right, and that is it, paying it forward, and we salute Mr. Lavoie for what he did. So you missed out on Sikut Miles Christi as soldiers of Christ, but you got Jolali, and that's our motto, Sikut Miles Christi as soldiers of Christ. And then you got Jolali, and then you also got Head, Heart, Hand, which is
I came to Mauli School for 6th form.
I see.
Yeah.
But there was this experience you had. Yeah. There was this lady who once, at some point in your education, showed up and was talking about, someone she was seeing, working somewhere, and you never thought that would be you.
No, the way I put it is this. In Qatar Secondary School, if I should mention it, in the 70s, and those of my schoolmates from Kotoka House, Fiawo House, Brukwa House, Kwawu House, they would agree with this, that if, let's say, a lady prophetess or a prophet had come to Qatar Secondary School at morning assembly and then declared that, hey, in a few years' time, I see one of you somewhere in a studio somewhere doing whatever. I knew people in my class, I would say, I think this person is talking about you, Patience. talking about you, Elsie. Your English is perfect. People are coming from Datus. I'm a village boy from the farm. Written, fine. But if you ask me, I was teased with the grammatical mistakes I made in Kitasco. Don't ask me to repeat my, I beg you. So I would have pointed to people whose English, spoken English, I admired, and would have said, oh, this person is prophesying about one of us.
But not yourself.
No. I would have, honestly, sincerely, in all humility, I would have disqualified myself. And this is where I have another lesson. If you have a young child, and this is to every parent, every teacher, every head teacher, if you have a young kid who is determined, who is serious, who is ambitious, but struggling in a particular area, a particular subject, please, in the name of God, don't write them off. If they are not too playful, but they are serious, they are determined, but this subject, they just seem to be struggling, or it could be they have dyslexia or something, don't give up on them, don't discourage them, and please be there for them. Because I was the last person in Qatar Secondary School you would expect will get up one day under the great grace of God, never having practiced journalism or broadcasting, to find myself at the British Broadcasting Corporation, not the GBC.
And you're also very mathematically inclined. In fact, at Legon, you were reading mathematics-oriented. Just walk us through what you read in Legon, and that also makes it even more stark. One, you had never practiced journalism before the BBC. You had not been in any studio. You had nothing to do with journalism. Your story resonates with mine in a way, but I'm not in the picture here. And two, you were reading math-related courses. So how did you even end up here? Let's talk about Legon. What did you read there?
I read mathematics. I think somebody at home watching us is wondering, he did, yeah. I did mathematics, statistics, and computer science. And I was thinking of maybe something to do with IT. I'd had ambitions before, or maybe medical school, but my chemistry wasn't chemistry. So I was good. I became good in mathematics through friends, colleagues, and that's where you need friends. So by the time I came to Legon, it's math, stats, and computer science. And again, the lesson here is your passion can become your profession, or your passion can become your vocation for transformation. So I dropped maths first year, second year, statistics, computer, final year, combined statistics, computer science, and then Legon retained me to do my national service on campus. But all this time, from my time in Ohavu, anytime we would be in boarding school, people have come back to Accra, Kumasi, Cape Coast, I would borrow a radio from my brother, my senior brother, who was generous. Usually you had to buy transistor radios, but he would let me take the radio. So I connected with the world with the radio. So the passion of radio, and my English was improving. In Kitasco, my English was poor, partly because my brothers and sisters who were sent from Accra to Qatar, they came and imposed Ga on us. English was not the...
I see. So are you fluent in Ga?
I'd never set foot in Accra until Form 3, but Chale, Bole, Mboya, I had never set foot in Accra. I'm speaking Ga to fit in Qatar Secondary School. I'd never even crossed Sogakope Bridge. But I'm in Qatar trying, because Ga was, if you didn't speak Ga, you didn't...
You were the outsider.
Not just outsider. You didn't try to woo any girl or anything. But when I went to Mauli...
So to achieve some success on that level too, you had to speak some Ga.
That you just admire the girls from afar because you're still a village boy. Look, your studio guys are laughing at me. Then I go to Mauli. A change of environment. I go to Mauli. Local boys from around the whole area, speaking English fine. They teased my English. They said my Anglo English wasn't up to par, that I was saying things like, instead of bell, I was saying bail. And then they would do this teasing. But the more I listened to the radio and the BBC, the better my language.
So you were listening to the BBC.
I was listening
to the radio.
Writing letters like comments to the editor. Then they will use it on talkback. Then you are in Ohavu, you hear your voice from London, the little comment. Then you felt validated. And then you increase in confidence. And it is remarkable that I, who used to be a listener to Network Africa at the BBC, by the grace of God, please, I'm pleading with those who think they don't believe in God. I'm not saying this in a religious way. I ended up presenting that program that Hilton File used to present. I got chances to do other programs, and it has to be God. So my background was math, statistics, computer science.
And later you spoke about IT at the University of Glasgow.
I went to Glasgow.
You got a master's
Legon
degree in
gave
that.
me a scholarship.
Right.
After my service, Professor Akila Pasoya was there, Mr. Ghana.
Oh.
Yeah, those people made it happen. Professor Champon was there. And just God gave me favor. Right. Usually, when you're doing service on Legon campus, you got your scholarship in your final year, the second year. But for me, within the first year, for some reason, they interviewed me. I knew within that first year that I had a scholarship. I just needed to find the school. So I went to Glasgow, did IT. IT was in its formative stages. So if you didn't have someone modeling you, mentoring you, and then at that time, the passion for radio, suddenly the BBC called me in Glasgow. Neo Date Lamte and the Ghana and the 17 team were in Glasgow to play football. They said, oh, Ben, we are not sending somebody from London. And you know, London and Glasgow is like Accra and Tamale. So could you go watch the match? When you finish, we will interview you, and then you do something. Then I would do the interview. Or at the point, they said, no, Ben, take one page. Just write what you saw, and then we will ask you. Then we will call you. We will record it and use it. That is how I started. Then I will start pretending like Charlie Sam of GBC, or Tommy Annan-Forsen or Godwin Avenogbo.
Wow.
The things I have heard on GBC,
right.
I am like channeling them in this. Then eventually there was this competition between the passion and my IT, and eventually I had to give in to broadcasting and settle at the BBC.
So a mathematically inclined person, mathematics, statistics, computer science, later IT, information technology, and that opened the door. Yes. You never know where God is taking you. Because I always tell people as well that I never thought I'd be a broadcaster. It had never crossed my mind.
In fact, at this point, if you allow me.
Never crossed my mind. It's through a friend. But like I said, my story is not for today.
I want to
It's
just
your
make a
story
quick interlude here. Now that you've said that, let me say that I used to come to your premises here at Joy Multimedia, and I had some most pleasant times with our late brother, Komla Dumont.
Right.
I say this because Komla set out to be a medical doctor.
Indeed.
Yeah.
He was in Nigeria.
And you know how we value doctors. So Komla also changed in trajectory. And I must also say at this point to just give my deep condolences and comfort to Professor Dumont. Because we've just had the funeral for Mawena, Komla's sister. So for the Dumont, the whole families, just may God's comfort beyond any words of human beings be your portion to cope in the days ahead. And I also want to say the best to my cousins, my direct cousins, the Gamos, because I also lost a first cousin who was a senior lecturer in UDS, Gladys Ablagamo. But the point I want to make is we may start one way, and again, once you're on the right track, and please, this is another lesson. You and I need to go back to our schools. Sometimes mentoring, career coaching will help many of us identify our calling earlier. Because some of us, when we went to Qatar Secondary School, all we want to do is, our parents are struggling on the farm. Sometimes they farm, the rains don't fall. They want to push us out to do something better to come and help them. We just want to succeed. If somebody could come Form 2, Form 3 and say, I see you are very good in this. You just want to be a success in life. What about these three options? I see that you have this. Some of us would have chosen commerce if we knew that that would lead us to become accountants and bankers. But the main thing in Kitasco, like every one of us wanted to do science. The best students were in science, aiming to do medicine. Somebody should have come from the Ghana Air Force to say, look, you can become a pilot. Here are the steps for you to become a pilot. I am a pilot. Especially one of my sisters in the Ghana Air Force called Selassie Agbenyefia. I wanted her to go back to Mali. I wanted to take her to Kitasco. Let the girls see this pilot sister and know that this person was with us here or in this Wilberforce house or Brooklyn house. So we need, I strongly feel that is one.
And I think it's something that some schools have taken up very well. Others can also learn from it as well. But that was also very real, even during my time, which is much later than yours.
Yes.
When you got a certain aggregate within a certain, I nearly got pushed into science class. And I said no.
Because you were so bright?
Well, when they see you aggregate at a certain, you must do science. Yeah. And I was not, I am mathematically inclined, but I wasn't excited about it. I didn't want to read any of that. And I'm thankful I stood my ground. Sometimes you had to speak to certain people to push you there. But you spent 12 years at the BBC.
Yes.
12 years. Yes. And you rose through the ranks, becoming deputy editor at a point.
Focus on Africa.
What was the journey like at the BBC?
Lessons learned. Number one, be open to be criticized. Be open to receive feedback. Feedback, first time Neil Curry, white man from England, my editor. It's like we were in the studio now. After the studio, he calls me aside and said, Ben, you know that portion, you could have done this. My brother, I felt like this guy was going to crush me. Benjamin, so when he says one sentence, I will say two sentences to defend, and I was over defensive. I didn't realize it was heated, but he kept cool. He saw in me a charcoal that could be refined into a diamond. If he were some angry person, he should have walked away. Till this day, Neil has become like a brother to me. His daughter, who is a medical doctor, if you see this white girl at the airport, she will come and jump into my arms saying, Uncle Ben. You're thinking, this black guy and this white guy, where is the uncle? So feedback. And let me give this illustration about feedback. No matter how well you are doing, Benjamin, somebody can speak something that will take you to the next level. Feedback is like the two hands put together. This is you as a human being, your humanity, your personality. This is your work in broadcasting, journalism, engineering, or medicine. Every time you and your work are the same. So somebody is coming to speak to you about your work. You think they are attacking your personality, so you begin to feel bad. Just separate yourself, put it in your pocket, let them criticize your work and give you feedback. That next time, instead of saying harassment, say harassment.
Indeed.
Instead of saying representative, which is probably the American way, say representative, right? These subtle things and so your work, if you take that with continuous improvement, feedback, you will continue to rise. So I believe in continuous improvement, the pursuit of excellence, which Komla did here. You can be here in Ghana, but your excellence will move you to the point that the world will come looking for you because you've got the standard already. Right. So those are some of the things. The BBC, I have the energy, I have the drive, I have the passion. I was loud, I was eager. If somebody is sick, can I help? Let me step in and doing it genuinely, right? And then before I realized, I was learning. And this is the other thing. You learn from people above you. You learn from people here. You learn from people who technically are below you. There is an IT expert here. He doesn't earn as much as you do. But I can learn some IT tricks from that brother or sister.
True.
So learning from below, learning with peers. Oh, Ben, how did you do this? Can you teach me? If you teach me, and then, of course, your bosses can criticize or critique your work. So feedback on those levels, if you are hungry for these things. Sometimes you get the bitter pill. Somebody will insult you on Facebook or something. But if there's an element of truth, you separate the insult. And you take this
sift the wheat from the chaff.
Thank you.
But speaking about some of those, you sometimes feel let down. You sometimes feel, wait, God brought me here like the people of Israel. Oh, when they started, grumbling against God and Moses. Did he just bring us here to kill us in the desert? Like they would grumble. You face such an experience at the BBC because you have risen through the ranks. Then you applied for an editorial position, and that was where everything started going down. What happened?
This is a long story.
Let's shorten it.
It's a combination of things, but I want you to see the hand of God in this. Elizabeth Ohini was deputy editor for Focus on Africa. NPP and Kufuor won power in Ghana. Elizabeth Ohini comes and leaves the BBC temporarily to come and take up a post. After 6 months, she would tell us whether she would be coming back or not. So in those 6 months, they opened the place for some of us to apply. 6 of us applied, and 3 people were chosen, and 3 people were rejected. And guess where your brother was? I was among the rejects.
You were in the reject pool?
Yeah, I was a reject.
Before you even go on, how did that make you feel?
Oh, if there is a lesson for any brother or sister watching me, I'm pleading by the mercies of God that what I would say, sometimes you go into these things and we run away from God. I had nowhere to go, and I tell people in the down moments, crisis, throw yourself at God. It's like God is standing, He has disappointed me, but I'm going to hold onto his leg and cry there if I have to cry. So 3 people were chosen.
But before you even get into that, were you frustrated? Were you depressed at any point?
You could call it depression.
You were depressed?
But I went to church, I prayed more, I fasted more, I sought God's face more. I felt, this is the feeling. It's like Joy Multimedia. 6 of you apply, 3 are chosen. It means you are at best number 4 in the pecking order over the next 5, 10 years until these people do their bit. That's all. Anyway, temporarily, the 3 people were given 2 months each to act as officers in charge.
So this was a sort of probation?
Probation, they are going to taste the cake and then feel it. Then after the 6 months, it was clear Miss Ohini was not coming back. Then they said, we've re-advertised. I thought they would just pick one of the 3 who have. Then they said, oh, we've reopened the thing. And this crazy village boy, by faith, decided, look, he that is down needs fear no fall. So I will put my heart in the ring again with the 3 people, colleagues, friends. Good friends, we get on well, and colleagues in the office, no fight, no bitterness. Then I also joined the pool again. 3 levels of tests were done, psychosometric test, then newsroom test, and then interview. 3 white people, Carrie Blackburn, Robin White, Barry Langridge, and then this crazy guy went again. In the meantime, my mentor, Neil Curry, who has been to Ghana and West Africa, he said, Ben, please, when you go to this interview, look the interviewers in the eye. I know in Ghana, it is culturally wrong for you to be looking people in the eye. I don't say stare. And then he would also tell me, don't go and be like a little, just be yourself. And as I'm on air now, I should, so I prepared. I prayed, I fasted, then I prepared. Then I went for the test. And then in the BBC, if they interview all of you this morning and afternoon, the result must come out in the evening. So I was just relieved. I went through. I got home in the evening. Barry Langridge calls. And I don't want to be negative, but what can come, can come.
You were not so optimistic, were you?
No, I've been
after the first disappointment.
6 months ago, I was rejected. So
right.
What can come, can come.
Yeah.
Barry Langridge, because Ben, are you home? I said, yes. Are you seated? I said, I'm fine, Barry. Then he said, Ben, you got the job.
How did you feel in that moment?
No, I was confused. I was quiet. Then he said, Ben, are you there? I said, yes, you got the job. We like your energy. We like your ideas.
Wow.
And I'm just in my mind saying, what have I done now? I was rejected before. Will I be able to do this job now? And he said, don't tell anybody yet. We need to talk to the other candidates and nicely let them know they didn't get the job. So don't go out yet. So I went and told my wife, this is what we screamed. We didn't know what happened. And just to let you know what God did, I'm saying this again, not because I want to speak, but I want someone, even for yourself, to know this. So I was given this job. For you to know that God's hand was in it, it was crazy. One of the contestants who were clearly in front of me got peeved. A white colleague, a white lady, got peeved and took the panel to a tribunal to say what? She had been discriminated against in my favor.
Wait, she was white?
Yeah.
The panel was?
All white.
All white.
And this village boy from Ohabu, with a lot of faith, just went. Just to show you how God does things. It was so remarkable that she took the panel to task. Another colleague couldn't accept what had happened. And for a while, this was a friend of mine who gave me gifts. I was drinking from her cup at home. And I don't blame them, because when God does something, it goes above and beyond. But this is the last point I want to make. In the 6 months when I was down, that I had been rejected. I didn't see a future at the BBC, a dark period. I just want somebody to hear this expression. They buried us, but they didn't know we were seed. Even that, may I know that that dark period, it was a planting time. God was planting something, because in that dark time, Kadria Ahmed, a Nigerian Muslim sister, who is a big media personality in Nigeria, we were on a shift. And then she came and said, Ben, I'm so disappointed they didn't give you this job. This was before the promotion came. And then she said, oh, I've seen this thing somewhere in New York at the UN. I think you as a senior producer, I am just a producer, you go for it. To be frank, I wasn't prepared to be hurt again.
Right.
So for many days, in that dark period, I just didn't want to face another wound. Kadria came to my computer the last day of shift. I said, Ben, it's just here. Go to this link, put your name there, even if you don't care. And so because Kadria pushed, I had to please her, and I put some application in there for something at the UN. This is how I ended up at the UN. It started from the time of disappointment, despair, and discouragement. A sister who is a Muslim, God uses. So another lesson here, when God is going to bless you and do things for you, don't limit it to people of your tribe or your ethnic group, people of your old school. If it's going to be
or even
great,
your religion.
Or religion, God is going to go beyond and use people that you do not know, as long as you're on the path with Him. So let's not limit ourselves and put people down because we have some little differences. In God, we are one. Through that, that's how I ended up at the UN. There was commotion in my office when I got the job. And for God just to prove to these people who doubted what I had gained, after a year, the UN came to me, can we interview you? And I'm thinking, I've now got this new job. They trusted me. I can't be going anywhere now. They interviewed me. I didn't hear from them another 6 months. Then they come back and say, you got the job. I said, no, but you haven't seen me face to face. Can't you fly me to New York? Maybe my big nose will put you off and you don't want to work with me. They said, no, we've done all our due diligence. We're just giving you the job. Now,
for how long had you been at the deputy editorial post?
So that was like a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Just got to prove to somebody that if you don't like him here, I know where I'm taking him. This must be God. And in the end, I had to talk to my bosses at the BBC. I went to one boss called Mark Byford. He became head of the whole BBC at some point.
Right.
But he kind of liked me. He would see me on the stairs, and I'm one of the few. He would say, Ben, is that you? And I just kind of... So I went to Mark. Mark said, Ben, we don't want you to go. I said, why? He said, we've put you on a succession plan. That is why we've been sending you to these conferences and meetings, because they realized that the leadership at the BBC was lacking black. So I didn't know they had now identified me as somebody to succeed Robin Wright. But I spoke to Barry Langridge as well. Barry said, look, my brother used to work in New York. If you get the chance, you can go. Long and short of it, I told Mark Byford, Mark, look at the terms they are giving me. Every 2 years, they will send me and my family to Accra and Oahu, which the BBC was not doing. If I were your younger brother now, and this opportunity is here,
which one would you guide me to?
And I think that threw him a little bit. Long and short of it is, he released me to go to the United Nations. He came to my farewell, and he would look at the exit door. He said, if you go and they're not treating you well, the door is open. When he was saying this, I didn't pay attention. But later on, my colleague said, did you hear what Max said 3 times? The head of the BBC, our part, was saying, when you go to New York, you are not seeing top, as we say in Ghana. Not many bosses will tell you when you are leaving that they will leave this place. Let's say you go now to Al Jazeera, and Mr. Kwesi Chuma and your editors are saying, Benjamin, when you go and Al Jazeera is not, just come back. We will always be here for you. So I just want to use that as a lesson. In my down moment, that is when God used a Muslim woman to say this opening. And that is how I ended up at the UN.
You are down, but not out. Do you know why I've just been patiently watching you? Because I did mention that I never had any idea of being in the media. It was a persistent friend.
Yes.
I'd helped with Spanish.
Yes.
And maybe I'll just mention it, Francesca Piaget. She compelled me to apply somewhere. And that was my start in the media. But that's a story for another day. I don't want this to turn into something about me.
Your story will never be complete without Francesca Appiagie.
Exactly. And everywhere I go, where I talk about my media journey, I mention her name. But let's get into, so the UN. Was it around the time Busumuru, Kofi Annan, was UN Secretary General?
Yes.
Tell us about,
that was one.
Did that also encourage you to want to go there and work?
It inspired me greatly, even from afar. At the BBC, I don't have a Ghanaian at the top. So even if I'm killing myself in work, I'm just doing it as an international or public servant. I go to the UN, at least there is a Ghanaian at the top. If I kill myself for this place to succeed, some credit will go to this Ghanaian. And then after a year, I made an arrangement with all my BBC skills to do an interview in the studio like this with Busumuru. All this time I entered the UN, I'm just seeing him from afar. People are asking, do you know Kofi Annan? I said, yeah, he's from our place, but I haven't met. So he comes into the studio. And I just want every one of us Ghanaians in the spirit of unity and community. So Mr. Kofi Annan comes to the studio with security, and my bosses are escorting him. I am seated, mic'd, and everything to interview him. And I go shake his hand. And I have the photo. I have it somewhere on LinkedIn. And I say, oh, Nana Akwabao, right? I'm showing respect to this senior Ghanaian brother. I am Ewe. My tree is the tree I learned from tree worship songs, right? And I'm saying this. Guess what this man did? He said, Ben, F1. So...
You were taken aback.
Yeah. And he didn't say, it's like he's been around some Ewes. He said the F1 with the accent and everything. Then I, who wanted to surprise him, I got surprised. So there are these two Ghanaians. I'm trying to force my wretched tree on Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan is speaking to me. Then he goes on to say, Aleke. And I'm thinking...
And that totally threw you.
Then that one, I just say, sir, thank you, I'm okay. Because I think I got confused a little bit. I wanted to get one on him, but he got me. And then we sat down, we had the interview, and it was a joy for me because when I went there, Mr. Annan was facing criticism that he, as an African, was not doing enough for African nations. And it sounded like you are from Africa, but you are busy with the world and abandoning your people.
Same sort of thing Nkrumah faced. You're from Ghana, but you're busying yourself with the rest of Africa. Right.
So Kofi Annan, there is something about Kofi Annan. He's not hyper like me. He's not agitated like me. I don't know how he cultivated this. Kofi Annan will speak, and you wonder if he's a Ghanaian. Kofi Annan was smooth and soft. And if you were not careful, you would miss the point. Kofi Annan said, Ben, I'm leading the fight against HIV/AIDS as UN Secretary General. I've established peacekeeping missions in this place, Liberia, Sierra Leone. We are helping to do this. But if you are asking me as Secretary General to come and take care of education and health and all these key other areas, what work would the leaders of these nations be doing?
Right.
When he said it, not like the way I am taking my time, he just said it until you read it in black and white, you don't get the sting in what he was saying. Without criticizing people, he just put it out there. So that ended up making news from that radio and television interview, and they took it. The spokesperson echoed this, that in an interview he granted UN Radio, he said this about this. And it was so satisfying to have that privilege. So it was good. And then I traveled with him a few times on some of the trips. And I was really glad 2006 December when he finished, because at a point there was a campaign to push him to resign. And I thank God Kofi Annan never resigned.
I remember that, and of course the incident with his son as well, the oil bit. But I remember even when the Rwandan incident happened, people felt that he had let down the system, while, I mean, the UN had been on the ground and done quite a bit of work. Yeah. But just to segue from what you just said, Kofi Annan saying, and this is something I'm hearing for the first time, that, look, I'm doing my bit, HIV and AIDS and all these things, but if I were to come down to education and the rest, what would African leaders be doing? Let's talk about leadership.
Yes.
and governance.
Yeah.
From where you sit, I mean, you just completed your 18-month stint in South Sudan.
Yes.
UNMISS.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You've seen Africa extensively.
Yes.
You've seen Ghana.
Yeah.
Leadership and governance. Where do we stand? Let's start from home.
Number one, Kwame Nkrumah should be a model for us to study and apply, especially in this time in Ghana. I went to South Sudan. South Sudanese diplomats, ambassadors, were telling me, your president, Kwame Nkrumah, was the first to support our movement for independence. I didn't know this. But Ambassador Riek Pakpo, I think I got his name, he was the one in his office at the foreign ministry in Juba, told me Kwame Nkrumah was the first to support our movement, Anyanya One. So they have this rapport with Ghanaians. I'm talking about leadership. Then many Ghanaians need to know this. John Garang, the hero of South Sudan, the founder of South Sudan, was a Ghanaian passport holder for many years. This is a significant point. The affinity that many South Sudanese feel towards Ghanaians is born out of the fact that when nobody knew us, when we were not separated from the main Sudan, Jerry Rawlings and his government gave John Garang, Dr. John Garang, a Ghanaian passport. So when I went, one key guy told me, you know, Garang had a Ghanaian passport. And I just thought it's one of these things. Until I met the widow of Dr. John Garang, Rebecca Nyangdeng Garang, and she said, oh, where are you from? Graceful, dignified woman. And I said, oh, I'm from Ghana. And in an offhanded way, she just said, oh, my husband spent a lot of time in your country. And I still held back, trying to find. Oh, so I said, what was he doing there? He said, because you people gave him your passport. I'm just saying this. Kwame Nkrumah saying the independence of Ghana was meaningless unless it was linked up with the total liberation of the African continent. So when I went to South Sudan as a UN staff, I could relate to our South Sudanese brothers and sisters in the Nkrumahist way, in the fact that Rawlings gave this man a passport. You don't have to second guess me as. So when Ghanaians disappoint South Sudanese, they feel it more than other people.
Oh, I see.
But
But generally, I mean, and since we're talking about Sudan, you know Mo Ibrahim?
Yes.
And in the past, he said something that I repeat often. He was at this conference, I believe, with Bill Gates and some others, and he said, Africa keeps electing all of these very old people. And he said it respectfully, not engaging in ageism. 70, 80, 90. I remember that point. There was a leader up north, I don't know whether it was Algeria, who was 90 or so, in a wheelchair, and he had just won another term. That
Mugabe was not alive.
I think he was. But he asked, Africans keep electing these very, very old leaders. Where are they taking Africa? To the grave? It was a joke. Yes. But there is some reason to it. Recently, Joe Biden, Trump, people spoke about the age factor in leadership. Yeah. Do you feel our African leaders have delivered? I want us to start from home. In this fourth Republican experience.
Listen, even me, I have failed our people. I built, with the help of Mrs. Matilda and Miss Arthur and Seth Fiati, they've helped me build a library in my village and a computer lab with 20 computers. Many kind people contributed books, and I'm trying to say no child in Ohabu and surrounding schools should end up anywhere and say, we've never seen a computer, we've never touched a computer. People helped me. We are failing our people. When you see Africans dying in the Mediterranean, it is a response, whether they come from Nigeria or Senegal or Cote d'Ivoire, we have failed. The Ghana, the Africa that Nyerere or Nkrumah and others left for us, am I proud about my nieces and nephews that in my little way, what I am going to leave for them is a bit better than I found it? Leadership is critically needed on personal levels, on entity levels, in communities, between you and me. Lead me and let me lead you. Iron sharpeneth iron. And for me as a Christian, let me say this. Ghana is largely a Christian nation. And I have to make a confession here. I hope he forgives me. Bishop Ni Nabi Na Apiakai Takia Boy of Victory Church. I tell him, sir, some of the prayers we are fasting and praying for in church, if we get good leadership, we would stop praying those prayers.
Ben.
For example, testimonies about visa to the US. The US should be begging Ghanaians, we need your expertise in Washington. We say, look, I'm too busy along the voter. I'm creating this thing for the world, I can't come. So as a Christian, I want Christians in leadership. And by the way, in terms of age, we are having nothing against older people.
Right.
Finland had a prime minister who was 34 years old, right? Systems and structures are in place. Right now in Ghana, I want you and I to identify any sister who is a competent professional. Could be a head teacher, could be an engineer, a doctor, a nursing sister, who is excellent, has sacrificed that she would die for the good things. She will not be corrupted by money. She will not be looking for stealing money. She will not have money in her home in a Belenque, whilst our children are living in dilapidated
I see how someone just caught stray bullets from your...
Let's say 5 years ago, I didn't have a bicycle, but by political association now, I own a private jet or I own series of houses.
Right.
Nobody pays attention to whatever. That is not the Ghana we can build. So my issue is with leadership. Younger sisters and brothers who are competent and good, we need to identify them and infuse them with encouragement. You and I.
But our constitution itself has problems in that regard, because unless you are 40 and above, you can't be a president. For example,
So
you've mentioned, you know, is it Finland?
Yes.
I mean, there's New Zealand. There's, not to mention, some of them are female as well, which adds to it.
Yeah.
There's New Zealand, there's Croatia, there's France, there's the US with Barack Obama.
Yes.
He was in his early 40s.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those are there, yet the problem
I'm talking
persists.
about leadership. And none of us is out of this. Every one of us must take responsibility. But what I'm saying about this, even if 40 is what we have in the Constitution, from 35, Benjamin, you get people to come on your program. And somebody, a sister comes here, she's a lawyer. She's non-political. She's just patriotic. She says, she outlines some things. Something must enter your spirit to say, once in a while, we need to get this sister back. By the way, when we are having people on the media, we should have the people like Patrick Ewua, who left the US, could have stayed there.
Of Ashesi.
Yes, Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, who could have been doing, in Germany, he came here, sacrificed whatever his flaws, or Dr. Fred McBagonluri of Academic City University. People who have done things, okay, Ibrahim Mahama, who has the biggest poultry farm in Ghana, who is supplying chicken to our boarding schools. People who have done things, because too many times, please forgive me, we are forced to listen to many talkers.
Talkers?
Yes, not thinkers and doers. Once in a while, we need doers. Patrick, how was it acquiring the land and eventually you've got Ashesi? I've met somebody who says when you get an Ashesi student, you don't have to train them with many things. So he's doing something right. The frustrations he first does. I visited him, and it's a crime for us as Ghanaians that Patrick builds this beautiful place. When you are fed up with Accra, just take a trip there, you will be refreshed and have optimism. And we can't do the road from Aburi Junction over there to just make this place accessible. He's done his bit. So from what I'm saying is, every sister who is into import, and is sending Ghanaian goods abroad, I want to get those people, encourage them. Tell them, would you like, you've got your own house, you've got 2 houses, you've got your car, can you now come and sacrifice? If they are 35, begin to immunize them, so by the time they hit 40, they are ready to meet the constitutional requirement and come. They could be a lawyer, they could be an engineer. Engineers solve problems. So you and I have a responsibility. In the media space, the people we see who are conscientious, they are not going to be corrupt. They are not going to be tribalistic. They are not going to divide us. In actual fact, you will find somebody who is from the north and they traverse the country because they have family in the Volta region. And then I tell other people that you may see some of us from the Volta region. But I know a military general deep in the deep south of the Volta region, whose great-great-grandparents were from the north. Right. But if he speaks now, you wouldn't know this guy has northern blood in him. That is why we are one. And we must not. And then during
just to conclude this conversation, you've spoken about leadership. I want you to address just two issues for me before you go. I also want you to share your thoughts with me about the standoff between Israel and Palestine and everything happening in between. But if you could speak to Ghanaian leaders today, and I know they're watching, they watch every day. If you could speak to our current crop of leaders in Ghana, the president and everyone in between, what would you tell him? What would you tell those leaders?
First of all, Acrobato would have said, whom am I?
Yeah,
I am a village boy.
That would be Chairman Wood to me. But anyway.
I'm a village boy from Ohavu. Ghana deserves the best.
Right.
From me, from you, only the best will do for Ghana. Number two.
Are we getting that so far?
No.
Okay.
Let's be candid and raw in a non-partisan, non-sectarian way. Let's admit the facts. Number two, we are so deep down, we need persons of faith and hope to tell us that even though things look bleak, there is disappointment, despair, and discouragement, without overlooking anything to say we still can do better. Somebody promised Accra would be the cleanest city in the whole
Africa.
of Africa. Somebody promised, if you want to make money, don't come near me. And again,
not in my government.
No, I want people to make money. I want Ibrahim Mahama to succeed. I want whoever is doing Jata cement to produce more and make it easy. I want a Ghanaian to own properties. I want a Ghanaian to be doing so well. He has several private jets in the right way. When we were growing up, there was a Kwabena Dako who was the biggest poultry farm.
Is it, Dako Farms.
Yeah, Dako Farms.
He eventually contested as a presidential candidate.
You want such people to succeed. Who has you want Ghanaians of metal to be great models and examples for us. Not somebody sitting somewhere just using their public office to make ill-gotten wealth and then lord it over people and with so much impunity. And that is not how nations are built.
Right.
We are not going to go. So in terms of leadership, let's groom, let's encourage, let's support people. But we are using money to also spoil many things. But wherever we are, I think we shouldn't despair. So that is about leadership. Sometimes those who are willing are not able. Those who are able
are not willing.
No, we actually make them unwilling because we muddy the place. They are not ready to go bribing. They are not ready to do devious, gangsterish things. And so some of our best people are not in leadership to sacrifice. Go into private practice and make all the money you want. But when you sit in a position of public office, please be like Nkrumah. Nkrumah never left any monies, any lands. This man built Ghana, Akosombo, schools and all that. How much money has he put into the western region where he came from or to Nkroful, his village? Gamal, Seku, Samia, the children. Do you see them now in some of the biggest mansions? No, the man gave his all. If you take public office, just tell your family and friends, please, I'm not going there to find jobs for you and steal money or do crooked things. I am going there to die.
Okay.
So your children and our children can have a better.
Our time is almost up. In a minute, you interact all the time with Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General. Your thoughts on Israel, Palestine, the standoff, Hezbollah has come in, but I don't want it to be a three-pronged discussion. Do you foresee any conclusion to that in intractable conflict, if you like? Final thoughts, and then we're going.
Okay, you've given the word intractable, which means there is nothing I will say here that will make a difference, number one. Number two, Mr. Guterres, in trying to help solve the problem, he got labeled as if taking sides. Number three, it is unfortunate that as you and I speak now, there are about 115 hostages still being held by Hamas. And then Israel is also mounting its offensive in the whole of the Gaza Strip. These are cousins. This problem predates some of us. It takes a lot of faith and hope to believe that this problem can be solved in our lifetime. But it's unfortunate. For me, it is sad that because of this problem, other people in other areas got tainted. If you didn't speak a certain way, then you are accused of being anti-Semitic or you are not doing enough. It's a very serious problem. My question now is, what would it take for Hamas to release all the 115 hostages they've taken, including children? And what would it take for Israel to stop the bombardments and the killings, over 30,000 Palestinians killed, and then for a permanent ceasefire to be agreed? That is what we should support Mr. Guterres and the United Nations to achieve. But sometimes the powers of the world also need to play their part, because what is good for the goose must be good for the gander.
Ben, thank you so much. I call him Senior Ben. That's what I actually, that's the name I have for him. Some of the comments that have come through, some of you have been reacting. You say it's a great interview. I see Edem Kofi Atipo saying, good interview. Portia Adum saying, wow. And she also comes back to say, Efo Dotsei, thank you for this. I cannot thank you enough for doing us the honors. I actually just caught him off something totally different we're working on, and literally dragged him.
I was resisting
pell-mell into the studio, but I'm grateful that...
I was trying to resist coming here, and I hope I haven't caused any trouble. May God bless us all. May Ghana get to that potential place, and may we be the leading light, a better nation, a great nation.
We salute you. Ben Dotsei Malor, he is chief editor at the UN. He's a former deputy editor at the BBC. Now, before we go into our next conversation, we at the Multimedia Group are proud to announce that we are the official free-to-air radio broadcast right owners of Euro 2024. Guess what we are delivering? Live commentary of selected games, including the opening game and the final, with our team of talented commentators and analysts on Joy FM, Love FM, Hits FM, Adom FM, Inshira FM, and Asempa FM. Well, apart from the live radio commentary, the Multimedia Group has also curated custom Euro 2024 shows on radio, TV, and digital, as well as live viewing events, all aimed at delivering unparalleled experience of the competition to our audience. Now, note, the Multimedia Group's radio broadcast coverage of the Euro 2024 tournament is by courtesy of Sporty TV and Sporty Bet. So you get to watch selected matches of Euro 2024 live on Sporty TV channel 36 on your digital TV sets. You don't want to miss out on that. Stay with us on the AM show. A lot more action coming your way. We'll be right back. Well, let's head into space now, and we're going to be talking about the Africa Aerospace Initiative. Not much we're doing on the continent, so we need to catch up in terms of the pace. I know Rwanda and Ghana and a few others have launched a few things, but what is this initiative and why now? Well, joining me for a conversation on these matters, we have Bright Lajekpo, and we also have King Solomon Lajekpo joining the conversation. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. And thanks for having us.
Great. Is this a father and son thing we have here?
It's a family thing.
It's a family thing. I see. That's very interesting. But just for starters, tell me about this initiative, even before we get into the why Africa needs this. What's this initiative?
So you realize, as you rightly said, that our representation in the aerospace industry as Africa is far behind the rest of the world.
True.
And so there is an initiative to bridge that gap and to increase and deepen Africa's participation in the aerospace industry because it's become a very important industry from both the scientific perspective as well as the business perspective for Africa to play its role and part in contributing to tracking climate change, for example, making sure there's satellite internet, for example, and doing other science-based activities.
Agriculture. You can use satellites, lower Earth orbit satellites and all of that.
There you go. So why is Africa lagging so far behind? There is also a lot of money to be made in space travel and space tourism, space advertising, and so on and so forth. So it's about time that Africa caught up with the rest of the world.
I see. Let me come now to, should I call him Junior? Okay, so for you, I mean, you're also part of this initiative, but I see your plaque there, Cambridge, British Council. Tell us a bit about that. What exactly is happening?
So I had the privilege of being awarded the overall Best A-Level Student Award for the June 2023 series.
Okay.
And I was also awarded the Top in the World Award for Information Technology, IT, for the same examination series. So off the back of some of the stuff we covered in our syllabi and personal interests I have is, also towards the degree I'm currently pursuing at the tertiary level, my dad and I, we collaborated as a family to join on this effort and see where Africa can go in the aerospace industry.
I see. Very interesting developments there. You must be very proud.
To God be the glory.
To God be the glory. So now tell me, why does Africa need to build capacity for, space technology and all of that? You've already started talking about that. I've mentioned Rwanda, I know Egypt, Kenya, Ghana. I think we have one up there somewhere. But there's a whole lot more we could do. Yeah. Why does Africa need to up the ante, ramp it up when it comes to space technology?
Absolutely very important, because in the first place, by 2050, it's estimated that Africa will have 1 out of 4 people in the world. And those people are young people. Now, so the onus is on us today to make sure we educate and prepare this generation. Now, getting into aerospace specifically, because we are so far behind, we need to accelerate in order to close the gaps that exist in both technology, training in our institutions. You can start from STEM education in high school, for example. High school STEM is minority in terms of the splits. So we need to accelerate that. We need to prepare Africans to participate. When you go to the school he attends and the course he does, we're not even 10% of the ratio of people who are in that college participating in preparing the next generation into all sorts of technology, engineering, information technology, artificial intelligence. We are so few. And it's remained like that for the last 60 years.
And let me just add, there are so few, and unfortunately, some of them, like him, when they don't come back here to come in, they stay. And it's also partly because the job opportunities and sometimes even the value they are getting is not available here. So they stay outside.
Yeah, so in February last year, the Africa Space Agency was created in Egypt. So it's there. It started. And there are Africa Aerospace Forum that is being pushed. South Africa and Egypt are at the forefront of low Earth orbit satellites that you refer to on the continent. And so it has begun. And we need to continue to push forward so they can come back home. So let me tell you, China just took 10 years to flood the US educational system with undergrads and bring back all of them. Today, China has international space stations of their own.
India did that as well.
And they have actually landed a probe on the moon.
Yeah.
So if we don't...
In fact, recently I was reading about their landing some, there's a section of the moon that is a bit, it's not one of the most popular areas. Twice now they've gone there. They are making strides.
They brought moon rocks back just recently.
Indeed.
So it can be done by the so-called developing nations.
Right.
China used to be developing until now. So we believe that capacity is the starting point. Talent is the starting point. And once we got our young people ready, they would come back.
What do you think it would take to put up, satellite internet, for example, or start the process as far as our part of the world? We can single out Ghana for now, before I come back to you.
So Elon Musk and his
SpaceX
has said that they have a lot of satellites in space already, but it would take 10 times more to cover the world in terms of low Earth orbit satellites that can beam satellite internet. So there's a huge gap there already, and Africa can fill in some of that gap, apart from the ones we're doing right now about border monitoring, like the Ghana satellites just to monitor our borders, our coastline, right? But there are so many more opportunities to send satellites up there to be able to beam internet and improve on remote location internet access across the continent.
All right, King. Now, in terms of your studies, you are veering into this area. You're already winning laurels and all of that, but don't rest on your oars. There's still a lot more work to be done. How do you feel, I mean, what you're studying, what you're doing, can impact Africa as far as this conversation we're having?
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that even though aerospace is a niche thing in a lot of people's minds, it's an area that, should we choose to invest in, would greatly impact our economy in the way that it stands now, especially since aerospace can feed into so many other things, like you said, with internet access, feeding into everything the internet has to offer, and manufacturing of said satellites to further other people around the world, their activities. So if Africa chooses to step into that space and assume that identity as this portion of the industry, I think it would be a place we could dominate, and then a place where people like me coming up who feel inspired, who hear these stories, can say, okay, this is where I want to go, this is where people have gone, and I think I can do it.
So do the likes of, is it Virgin, Richard Branson, is it?
Yeah.
The likes of Elon Musk, even Jeff Bezos and the others.
Blue Origin.
Blue Origin. Do they inspire you? Have you been in space?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. All right. So let me just say this. What then do you feel can be done to accelerate, to ensure that, you know, Africa also gets to that point? I mean, in the next 10 to 15 years, for example, human space exploration, if we have something here, you would probably want to be here. I would ask, you know, your father about that, but for you, as a student now, what are your expectations?
I think in the next 10 to 15 years, we definitely have to ramp up our global education, in the sense that I feel if you give to the world gives back to you. So if we create a chain or an understanding that people leaving the country doesn't mean they have to stay out of the country, doesn't mean they have to contribute to other economies and other industries. I think once those people come back and be inspired by what the world has to offer, we can further ourselves as a country and an industry. And to the point of people who inspire me, I think I'm more inspired by the people who I've met that look like me, I should say. People including Dr. Ashite Olenu, who works with NASA. Yeah.
Prof?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
And just I've met 2 astronauts in my lifetime. I'm very grateful.
Do you want to go into space someday?
Probably.
Okay. I've been reading recently about some kidney issues they could face if they stay there for long, but that's hopefully technology will advance so that you get there. Final words, but also tell us about what you think futuristically, 10 to 15 years. What are you hoping to see?
I think with artificial intelligence, with globalization playing out really, we can close the gaps significantly. But like I said already, it starts with getting our young people out there. They are capable of marching and competing and beating the world.
Right.
So we have Ghana having top in the world in terms of information technology.
Right.
Your mind goes to India and so on when you talk about that, right? But you have a Ghanaian winning that. So it means that our young people are capable and well able. We have to invest. It's not cheap to access Ivy League education.
Nope.
It's not cheap to access engineering and science education at undergraduate or postgraduate level. We have to have more scholarships, more endowment funds in the universities in the States and in the UK to power this move of growing the numbers, and we don't have to wait for diversity, inclusion, and equity to hand it down to us.
Right.
We should be able to invest into it. So in the next 10 to 15 years, if we do the investment now, we should reap the benefits.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your thoughts. Of course, Bright Lajapo, a technology consultant, and King Solomon Lajapo, overall best A-level student for 2023. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You know what I want you to do, right?
What's that?
Keep soaring.
Okay.
Keep rising. Make Ghana proud.
We'll do
it. But we're back in the studio. I noticed this morning as well that we were color coding unintentionally again. I think I have to look into my crystal ball and determine when you're going to use what, and then switch. But let's do this acknowledgements and get out of here.
Before we go, it's an invitation to escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Japa, Dubai. You've seen the rest, now it's time for you to see the best. So take a break from work and take a break from the South. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Japa, Dubai is the best place to relax, rewind and re-energize. It is away from the stress of the South, and here's what awaits you when you go. One unforgettable safari experience, amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamus, zebras, ostriches, and many others, using their spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or quad bikes. There's also water sports such as jet skiing, boat rides, canoe rides, etc. There are various family games to keep you and your family excited all day long, as well as great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rocks, Slave Caves, etc. So, escape from the south, escape to the north, escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, the Japa, Dubai for an unforgettable safari experience. You can call them on 0501 694 280 or 024 88 444 63 for reservations and further inquiries. But that's not all we have for you this morning. Benjamin has some other important information for you.
Well, in case you're stressed out about all your cleaning needs, worry no more. Say goodbye to worrying. Dan's World Services is your one-stop shop that meets all your commercial and residential cleaning needs, from pest control, janitorial and house cleaning services, event cleaning and waste management, carpet and sofa cleaning, etc. So whether at home or at work, we understand and know how haptic cleaning can be coupled with your busy lifestyle. We've got great news for you. Dan's World Environmental and Facility Management Services has got you covered. We excel in whatever we do, leaving you beyond expectations. Locate us at Excel House opposite Regimanuel Estate and Nungwa Barrier, or call us on these numbers: 0302 905 538 or 0555 752 361. Dan's World Services, beyond expectation. And hopefully, we've gone beyond your expectations this morning, blowing you away. Sweetie Abochi and yours truly. This is how we hang it up.
Festus Owari, he's standing right here, one of our cameramen here.
Oh,
Happy belated birthday. Wishing you all the very best, Festus Owari. Okay, that's how we're wrapping up this morning.
Happy birthday to Festus, and it's a wrap on the AM show. Joy News Desk is up next. Do stay for that.
Bye.